Meanwhile, in the capital of the Thunder Empire, the Prophet of Doom, Primo, had finished recuperating. He had exerted himself greatly recently, trying to foresee the future of the Bachelor Duchy and why the imperial armies led by two Grand Dukes had met with mysterious annihilation. Additionally, he had suffered some mental strain due to being scrutinized by the evil god known as the Unifier of All. Despite the lethal potential of being gazed upon by an evil god, the gaze was mitigated by a temporal barrier. Moreover, Primo was not an ordinary hero, he was the renowned Prophet of Doom, a level 7 mythic figure. It was unlikely for him to be critically debilitated by merely a glance from an evil god. At that moment, Primo had returned to his peak condition. Jason seems to be in trouble, a companion reported to Primo. For this journey to the Thunder Empire, Primo had brought only 2 people with him, Jason, the Plague Master and fallen druid, and Will, the hero now standing before him. Will ranked higher than both Jason and Satoru Sato on the hero leaderboard, being among the top 300 supreme heroes, with unfathomable strength and recognized as Primo's strongest ally. What? Jason is in trouble? Primo expressed his surprise. He had a lot of confidence in Jason, not only because he was a well-ranked hero, but also as a druid skilled in disguise and transformation. Primo hadn't asked him to directly attack the Darkness City or assassinate the Demon King. With his skills, how could it be possible for him not to escape? The Demon King is more difficult to deal with than we anticipated. If even Jason couldn't infiltrate, then it's hopeless for others, Will said with a grave expression. Losing such a crucial ally undoubtedly weighed heavily on Primo's spirits. However, the fact that the Demon King had managed to defeat Jason further confirmed his suspicions that this Demon King was extremely formidable, far more so than he had anticipated. If he could kill Jason, the rewards and gains from defeating him must be incredible, Primo speculated. When can we expect our reinforcements? They are on their way and should arrive within the next couple of days. Additionally, I just received word that Emperor Freelio 16 has gone to the Hall of Valor in the Imperial Temple, Will replied. The Hall of Valor? A smile crept onto Primo's face. It seems the Emperor intends to gamble with the Empire's heritage and fate, but this could work in our favor. Will, not familiar with the specifics, curiously inquired, what's so special about the Hall of Valor? Primo explained, the Hall of Valor harnesses the power and abilities of past emperors. By unleashing this sealed power, the current emperor's strength could dramatically increase, perhaps by tenfold or even more. As the Emperor of the Thunder Empire, Freelio is at least a level 6 monarch, nearing a level 6 mythic. Once he absorbs the power from the Hall of Valor, his strength could leap to that of a level 6 legend. Will was astonished. A level 6 legend? That's almost on par with you, Primo, as a level 7 mythic. Primo continued, not only that, but he will also gain the heritage of past emperors, acquiring a nearly indestructible body. Will was shocked. That's terrifying. Primo responded calmly, the power of an empire-level force isn't as simple as it seems. That's the true depth of an empire's strength. Will laughed, with such power, along with our assistance, plus the empire's own resources and reinforcements from other empires, there's no reason for us to fail this time. Indeed, the top 10 on the Demon King leaderboard were at most level 6 legendary units. Now, with Emperor Freelio absorbing the power of past emperors, his strength actually matched those of the strongest Demon Kings. Under these circumstances, no matter who the Demon King of Darkness City was, he couldn't have the upper hand. Given the relatively short development time of Darkness City and the Chaos Federation, they simply couldn't contend with the Empire on an equal footing. Primo stood up, prepare a large magical formation. Having worked with Primo for a long time, Will immediately guessed what Primo intended to do. Are you planning to predict the future again? Primo nodded, to ensure we leave nothing to chance, I need to see the outcome and process of the war in advance. Only then can we ensure an invincible position. Will nodded in agreement. Primo's ability with time was formidable. With it, he could foresee the battle conditions, thus gaining insights into the enemy's strength, troop deployments, and the course of the fight. With this information, Primo could predict outcomes. Even if the outcomes were unfavorable, he could make targeted arrangements and then repredict under altered circumstances until he completely countered the opponent, thus securing an absolutely invincible position for his side. This ability was nearly unbeatable. Any enemy facing Primo was ultimately completely neutralized by him. Of course, foreseeing the future was not without its limitations. First, the more targets and the stronger the targets involved in the prophecy, the more energy would be consumed. If among those targets there were ones whose strength matches or even surpasses Primo's, the visions he could see could become partially or even largely blurred. In the past, it was almost impossible for there to be a presence in Primo's prophecies stronger than him. However, in the upcoming Imperial War, Emperor Frehlio, having merged with the power of the Hall of Valor and reached a level 6 legend, would be slightly stronger than Primo. Moreover, since the battle involved the fate of the nation and included millions of units, it was challenging for Primo to see the entire process in detail. However, as a level 7 being, his capabilities were not just for show. Primo could easily access some visions and still obtain the necessary information from them, at least enough to discern the outcome and result of the battle. Under these circumstances, how could Primo possibly lose? Only those who foresee the future can remain undefeated in all battles. By the time Xiongnu returned to Darkness City, not much had changed during his absence, except for the continual stream of good news from both the north and south. The northern battles were progressing smoothly, with the Thunder Empire's southern territory largely reduced to just the Bachor Duchy. Over 100 towns had been captured during this period, amassing a significant collection of various quality silver and gold treasure chests. In the south, under the management of the succubus Queen Han Kurson, the occupation of the Pale Moon Kingdom was nearing completion, expected to wrap up within a couple of days. Excellent. Not bad at all. Xiongnu approached the Demon King altar, sacrificed a portion of souls to acquire 1 million talent points, and then activated his new talent without hesitation. You've activated the level 6 talent Void Overlord. You've received the blessings of time and space, spatial temporal skill cost -90%, casting time -90%. Your Abyssal Divine Realm will be infused with the power of the Void Divine Realm, granting you immunity to all time-space damage. Pleased with the effects of this talent, Xiongnu appreciated the true value of a level 6 skill. With the activation of Void Overlord, he would be completely immune to time and space abilities, and his own use of such skills would not only cost significantly less but also cast much faster. This improvement alone was monumental. Time and space magics often suffer from long casting times and high costs, but a 90% reduction was more than just a slight improvement. Moreover, the infusion of void power into his divine realm had transformed it into a fully independent microworld. Anyone who entered his realm would effectively disappear from this world. No matter how powerful the adversaries captured within his realm, even those nearing divine status, once they were inside, they could never escape. Additionally, Xiongnu discovered an abundance of knowledge on space and time in his mind, another perk of becoming the Void Overlord. Shortly after attaining this status, Xiongnu sensed an omnipresent, malevolent consciousness manipulating time, connected to him through the flow of time. Someone is manipulating time. Now as the Void Overlord, he could sense disturbances in the timeline, detecting a fool attempting to use temporal abilities to spy on him, or more specifically, on the impending decisive battle with the Empire. In this world, those capable of glimpsing into or controlling time were exceedingly rare. Temporal abilities ranked among the rarest of all power attributes. Anyone who possessed time powers and could easily foresee the future or trace the past must have been at least of level 6 or higher, and the number of individuals meeting this criterion was very few. Xiongnu didn't even need to guess to know who was probing his timeline. It had to be the Prophet of Doom, Primo, a figure within the top ranks of the hero leaderboard. It was interesting that Primo could effortlessly discern the future. This mastery over temporal magic was something Xiongnu might not have been able to handle as deftly, demonstrating that this prophet was indeed not unworthy of his reputation. With such abilities, Primo could essentially make himself invincible. No matter the opponent or how formidable they might be, he could foresee their actions and prepare accordingly. At the very least, he could avoid risks and ensure that he never found himself in a hopeless situation. However, what Primo couldn't have anticipated was that while Xiongnu wasn't as practiced with sensory time abilities, he had already directly mastered the laws of time, and now, fused with the Void Seed, had activated the Void Dominator talent. In terms of proficiency with time abilities, Xiongnu could be considered far superior to Primo. This was precisely why Primo's attempt to spy on Xiongnu's actions was instantly sensed by him. Trying to prophesize me? Haha, how ridiculous. The future can be predicted, but fate is unpredictable. Xiongnu could completely disrupt the timeline, intentionally creating false visions of the future to mislead Primo and lead him to erroneous conclusions, thereby confusing him and making his cunning backfire. To avoid any slip-ups, Zhang Nu hid most of his dragon legion deep within his abyssal divine realm. After activating the Void Overlord, his abyssal realm was no longer just a static subspace. With various orders and laws integrated, this space had become an independent world. In other words, the domain realm created by Zhang Nu was essentially a small world he had crafted. This world existed in parallel to the current world, completely independent, without any interference, and its laws were entirely under Zhang Nu's control. This meant that the time and space within the domain were not connected to the main world's time and space. If Zhang Nu stationed all his powerful forces in the domain space, they would effectively disappear from the time-space axis of this world and become undetectable. Under these circumstances, Primo would struggle to accurately predict their status. Furthermore, Zhang Nu could also use other methods to create more illusions in the future Primo saw, thereby leveraging Primo's abilities to create opportunities for the Chaos Federation to strike at the Empire. At that moment, Zhang Nu received a notification. You've conquered the Pale Moon Kingdom. You've gained the Pale Moon Kingdom treasure chest. Han Kursen had completed her control over the Pale Moon Peninsula much faster than expected. It is important to note that the Pale Moon Peninsula, with a population of 50 million, is not a small place. Although the Chaos Federation absolutely overpowered the Kingdom of Pale Moon in terms of strength, conquering such a vast region typically wouldn't be achieved overnight. The reason for such rapid success, apart from Han Kursen's extraordinary tactics, was the direct involvement of Shui Lan. Shui Lan is one of the most influential figures in the Chaos Seas, and her call to re-establish order naturally rallied various tribes and factions to respond. Well done indeed. The Pale Moon Peninsula would serve as a crucial hub connecting the Chaos Woods and the Sea of Chaos, and would also be one of the most important ports and trade centers in the Northern Sea of Chaos. By controlling this region, the Chaos Forest could generate significant military and economic value. Furthermore, as an independent region and nation, the Demon King could obtain a special regional conquest treasure chest upon successful conquest, similar to the situation when conquering the Chaos Woods. Not to mention that the level of the Pale Moon Kingdom was far higher than that of the Chaos Forest. Zhang Nu did not hesitate and immediately opened the treasure chest. You've opened the Pale Moon Kingdom treasure chest. You've activated the title, Supreme Overlord of Pale Moon. You've gained Gold X 1 billion, Blueprint, Demon King's Mysterious Seascape, Blueprint, Demon King's Rift Tower, ×1, Level 5 Special Building Upgrade Scroll, ×3, and 11 Elemental Gem, ×50,000 each. As expected, the rewards were far more substantial than a regular chest. The reward of 1 billion gold alone was satisfying, let alone the 2 Level 5 Special Building Blueprints and 3 Level 5 Special Building Upgrade Scrolls, whose value was incalculable. Moreover, 50,000 of each type of the 11 elemental gems was not a small number. Excluding the value of the title, a conservative estimate put the total rewards at nearly 2 billion, a staggering figure, and that was the reward for conquering a kingdom. Zhang Nu then reviewed the newly acquired title. Title, Supreme Overlord of Pale Moon, Monarch Level Title. MP plus 5,000 permanently. HP plus 5,000 permanently. When within the boundaries of the Pale Moon Peninsula, further increase in HP and MP by 50%, all stats plus 25%, recovery speed plus 100%. Gains regional teleportability, usable once every 30 minutes. Under your rule, the resources of the Pale Moon Peninsula plus 20%, all stats of the citizens plus 10%, loyalty of the citizens plus 10%. You may appoint a proxy king in the Pale Moon Peninsula area, who receives a stat bonus plus 25%, HP plus 5,000, aging speed minus 60%, recovery speed plus 80%. Quite impressive. This title level was similar to the one he received as the ruler of the Chaos Woods, so the attribute effects were about the same, but clearly slightly superior. And unlike the Chaos Woods, the Pale Moon Peninsula was a nation. Zhang Nu could establish a king in this area, and the king would receive significant increases in stats, HP, and lifespan the moment they were appointed, which would bring considerable benefits, but they must pledge loyalty to the Demon King. Zhang Nu was very satisfied with such rewards. After all, during the conquest of the Pale Moon Peninsula, Darkness City hardly exerted any effort. Zhang Nu and the Dragon King of Darkness City's attention was almost entirely focused on the Empire in the north. The entire process of taking over the Pale Moon Peninsula relied mostly on Han Kursen and her followers from Dark City, and to a lesser extent, Shui Lan. For Zhang Nu, Capturing the Kingdom of Pale Moon was purely a win by default, but the gains from the process were not insignificant. Zhang Nu reviewed the two special blueprints. The Demon King's Mysterious Seascape was a special blueprint that allowed the summoning of an oceanic area in a designated region, where the lifespan, training speed, and various attributes of sea creatures were significantly enhanced. In a way, this seascape could serve as an eternal tree for sea creatures. Once created, it could greatly enhance the productivity and strength of sea creatures, prolong their lives, and would be a crucial facility for attracting sea races to build maritime strength, creating tremendous economic and military value. As for the Rift Tower? As the name suggests, it was another dungeon related to the sea races, from which a multitude of precious materials could be harvested. The value of the two blueprints was indisputable, and the 3 level 5 special building upgrade scrolls were exactly what Darkness City needed for its current phase of construction. Combined with the 3 obtained from the Void City treasure chest, just these 2 chests provided 6 special upgrade scrolls. Zhang Nu no longer had to worry about which facility to upgrade first, he could now proceed with them one by one. After tallying up the spoils of war, he immediately began the development of his territory. Would you like to construct the level 6 special building, Void Temple? This construction costs blueprint, Void Temple times 1, gold x 400 million, space gems x 20, 000, time gems x 20, 000. Seeing the materials required, Zhang Nu was inwardly astonished. Indeed, the cost of constructing a level 6 building was substantial. However, given the current state of Darkness City, it was well within its means to afford such expenses. Without much hesitation, Zhang Nu summoned the building. A palace-like structure, crystalline in appearance, materialized near the Demon King's castle. A wave of temporal and spatial energy instantly enveloped the castle and then spread to cover Darkness City, eventually expanding to engulf the entire Darkness Valley. This force was invisible to the naked eye and difficult for the ordinary to sense, because it was a pure temporal and spatial energy. When it covered the entire Darkness Valley, subtle changes began to occur within it. The Void Temple, as a level 6 special building, possessed several functions, one of which was the Void Barrier. The barrier released by the Void Temple not only provided strong protection but also allowed control over the space within the barrier, causing it to expand or contract. The maximum adjustment was about tenfold. For example, if an area had a radius of 1,000 meters, once enhanced by the Void Barrier, it would instantly gain an additional 900%, with this additional space not originally existing but purely created by the Void Temple. The city areas of Darkness City remained unchanged, and no alterations occurred nearby, but beyond these areas, vast fertile plains appeared, courtesy of the extra space brought by the Void Barrier. From the outside, the valley appeared normal. As long as the Void Barrier remained active, this space would continue to exist indefinitely. The functionality of the Void Temple was not limited to expanding space and defense. It also had a very important feature, job advancement. It could transform humans, orcs, elves, and several other common races with units of level 3 or above into Void Mages or Void Warriors, who are mages or warriors with spatial abilities. The highest tier it could create was a level 6 Overlord unit. However, unlike other job advancement towers that only required gold, the Void Temple's transformation required the consumption of space gems, meaning the cost was much higher. Nevertheless, the special functions and overall value of the Void Temple could significantly enhance the overall strength of Darkness City and the Chaos Federation. After Zhang Nu constructed the Void Temple, he took out 3 level 5 special building upgrade scrolls. He then upgraded the Resurrection Altar, the Spirit Sanctum, and the Soul Altar. Although upgrading from level 5 to level 6 special buildings was costly, the value these facilities could provide made the expense seem trivial. The function of the Resurrection Altar needed no elaboration. Once upgraded to level 6, it meant that even if a level 6 unit died in battle, as long as there was sufficient gold and materials to cover the costs, it could be resurrected with all its power intact. This was of great value to Zhang Nu, Han Kurson, Nancilia, and Shuilan, so it was prioritized as a core facility. As for the Spirit Sanctum and the Soul Altar, they were also top priority. Once the Spirit Sanctum was upgraded from level 5 to level 6, it could support far more powerful features, and its capacity for simultaneous spiritual connections jumped from 10 million units to 200 million units. The Spirit Sanctum was set to create astonishing direct and additional value in the future, and it could also become a spiritual paradise for all members and citizens of the Chaos Federation. The soul altar was also crucial. At this stage, Zhang Nu's business of trading level 5 souls in the Demon King market was no longer as profitable as before, mainly because more and more demon lords had obtained facilities or methods to synthesize level 5 souls. If Zhang Nu wanted to continue scalping profits from soul trading, he needed to offer something more powerful than his competitors, and upgrading the soul altar was aimed at this. A level 6 soul altar could synthesize level 6 souls. At this stage, other demon lords did not possess this production capability. Thus, Zhang Nu could not only continue to trade level 5 souls but also sell level 6 souls at a high markup, thereby achieving greater gains. After upgrading 3 facilities, Zhang Nu still had many upgrade scrolls left. However, he was not in a hurry. He planned to slow down the development of his territory for a while and instead spend a large amount of gold to continue recruiting abyssal dragons. Ordinary abyssal dragons were not expensive. Each cost only 4 million gold plus a level 5 soul. With plenty of gold and souls at hand, Zhang Nu recruited 500 abyssal dragons at once and upgraded 20 of them to abyssal dragon elders. The abyssal dragons nesting in Darkness City were about to break through to 1,000. 1,000 might not seem like a large number, but these were dragons. Even the weakest abyssal dragon possessed the power of a top-tier level 5 overlord, capable of summoning thunder, unleashing dragon fear, and breathing dragon fire. The combat power of 1,000 ordinary abyssal dragons was comparable to the once pride of the Empire, the Guardian Knights. Moreover, not all the dragons in the Darkness City's dragon legions were ordinary abyssal dragons. There were also many dragon elders and several dragon kings. With the current dragon army, given the scale of Darkness City's elite forces, even in a direct confrontation, they could pose a threat to the Empire, capable of breaking through any duchy and penetrating into the heart of the Empire. Of course, Zhang Nu considered that since the Empire had a prophet with precognitive abilities stationed, he could not deploy his entire dragon legion openly. Instead, he temporarily moved them to the space within the Abyssal Realm. The isolation of the Abyssal Realm could shield their connections with the main world. By doing this, even if Primo, the prophet, could foresee events, he would have a hard time discerning the details of this force, failing to grasp the terrifying power of this troop and thus misjudging the military strength of Darkness City. Just then, Li Si teleported to Zhang Nu's side. "My lord, we have intercepted the latest news. The Thunder Empire has completely abandoned the southern territories and is currently withdrawing all troops and resources from there," he reported. Hearing this, Zhang Nu was not surprised. He nodded and said, "The Empire seems to be quite aware of its situation. The southern territories and the Bachor Duchy are definitely lost. Their current actions might indeed minimize the losses and casualties for the Empire." Li Si asked, "Should we pursue them?" Zhang Nu shook his head and said, "There's no need to chase them down. Instead of pursuing them relentlessly, it's better to take the time to secure Bachor Duchy, to fully control the southern territories, and to reassure the local population." Li Si nodded and replied, "I will heed your commands, my master. Long Yi is already assembling the troops. We can depart within the next 2 days to officially begin the attack and occupation of Bachor Duchy. The Chaos Federation's attack efficiency is quite impressive." Zhang Nu realized that up to now, apart from Bachor Duchy, most of the southern territory of the Empire had already fallen or was about to fall into Darkness City's influence, being annexed as part of the Federation. At this point, only Bachor Duchy remained. And with the Empire giving up on defending Bachor Duchy, the difficulty of conquering it had greatly decreased. Zhang Nu decided to act swiftly. On one hand, occupying Bachor City would surely bring high rewards, and on the other hand, Bachor Duchy was already in chaos. If order was not restored quickly, future management and operations would be challenging. He asked, "How many days will it take to capture Bachor City?" Li Si replied, "It's predicted to take about 7 days. The Bachor Duchy has very strong defenses and fortresses guarding each checkpoint, and our army will need to expend some effort and time to break through these obstacles." "Too slow," Zhang Nu exclaimed. "I want Bachor's main city taken down within 3 days. Hearing this, Li Si was stunned. 3 days? That timeline is quite tight, especially considering the distance. Zhang Nu chuckled. Distance? That's not an issue. I plan to activate the Stellar Gateway, and this time I'm personally joining the fray. The conquest of Bachor's main city was an unimaginable feat in the past. How could he not witness such a historic moment with his own eyes? The spatial facility of Darkness City, Stellar Gateway, originally could only teleport over short distances. Since it was upgraded from level 5 to level 6, the capabilities of the Stellar Gateway had significantly improved. Now, the teleportation range of the Stellar Gateway was unimaginable before. It could completely bypass the border defenses of Bachor Duchy and appear directly near the main city. As for personally taking action, whether this would be discovered by the Empire was no longer a concern for Zhang Nu. On one hand, Zhang Nu no longer needed to hide, his current abilities had already matured, giving him the capability to protect himself fully. On the other hand, while the Prophet of Doom, Primo had likely noticed Zhang Nu during his predictions of Bachor City's fall and the Imperial Army's total defeat, there was a gap in their powers. Primo would find it difficult to completely see through Zhang Nu across time. Since the formation of the Chaos Federation, the development of the Chaos Forest had accelerated rapidly. The young Elven Empress felt that she should also contribute. Nancilia immediately asked, "Can we also help? We want to see for ourselves what the greatest city in the human empire's south is like." Zhang Nu thought briefly before giving an affirmative reply, "No problem, your power is quite remarkable, and it can definitely provide us some assistance." "Thank you, Your Majesty the Demon King." Nancilia was visibly delighted and immediately began preparations. It took only half a day to make the necessary arrangements. When Zhang Nu arrived at the portal, he saw an orderly array of troops, including over 200 dragons alone. In addition, the Demon King's royal guards and various aerial legions starting from at least level 3 totaled around 60,000, with other various troops collectively numbering over 500,000. In fact, given the current strength of the Bachor Duchy, the Demon King didn't need to dispatch so many troops. The main reason Zhang Nu deployed so many was due to the large area and numerous cities of Bachor Duchy, considering the issue of efficiency. It wasn't long before Nancilia arrived with thousands of elves. Zhang Nu glanced over and said, "Since the preparations are almost complete, let's hurry and depart. We'll take down Bachor's main city within 2 days, and capture the entire Bachor Duchy within a week to complete the integration of the Empire's southern territories." "Understood," the Demon King's subordinates replied without delay. Zhang Nu personally activated the portal. A surge of intense magical fluctuations erupted, gathering a massive amount of spatial energy within the Stellar Gateway, ultimately forming a huge portal. On the other side of the portal was a plain, and directly opposite the portal's exit, about several dozen miles away, was a magnificent city in a discernible field. That was indeed the main city of Bachor Duchy, the long-standing headquarters guarded by generations of the Bachor Dukes. Without the Stellar Gateway's powerful long-range troop deployment capability, it would normally take 5 to 6 days just to reach Bachor City. But now, using the power of the Stellar Gateway, it only took a moment to arrive. Zhang Nu commanded, "Begin the march." Dragon 1, Zhang San, Li Si, and other leaders of various races, like Jin Kuei, were at the forefront, being the first to pass through the portal. Victory of this battle was never a question. Bachor's main city, in the Dragon's Shadow Hero's secret base. Su Yan, disguised as an ordinary human, was arranging tasks for the 200 to 300 people in front of her, all of whom were members of the Dragon's Shadow Heroes developed in Bachor City. "Listen up, everyone," he began. "I've received urgent news from Darkness City. Our boss is about to lead a large army to Bachor City, and it's time for our Dragon's Shadow to shine and earn merits." Su Yan spoke loudly, "What we need to do is disable various defensive mechanisms of Bachor City, including the city's protective barrier, and monitor all districts and the hero guilds of Bachor City, to facilitate our boss's takeover of the city." "Yes, Captain," the Dragon Shadow Heroes shouted in unison. These members of the Dragon Shadow Heroes were local recruits by Su Yan. Most of them had never been to Darkness City, nor had they ever met the legendary Demon King. At this moment, learning that the Demon King was about to arrive with a large army both surprised and excited them. Their surprise stemmed from the fact that despite the considerable size of Bachor Duchy, the Demon King was able to directly attack Bachor City without having breached several strategic fortresses of the duchy. How was that possible? It seemed incredible. Regardless, they all eagerly awaited this day. Once the Demon King successfully took over Bachor's main city, a vast city would certainly need administrators and agents. For the Dragon Shadow Heroes, this was a valuable opportunity for advancement. Su Yan quickly assigned tasks to her subordinates, who immediately accepted their orders and began their operations. Recruitment for the Dragon's Shadow Heroes had standards. With Bachor City's large population, which included up to about 30,000 heroes, Su Yan and the Dragon Shadow Heroes team recruited only 200 to 300 people. These recruited members were either individuals with outstanding abilities and potential or those who held a certain social status in Bachor City, making their impact significant. Su Yan was very confident in her subordinates. Because the city's defending nobles and other significant figures had essentially been withdrawn by the empire, which had effectively given up on the southern territories. The Dragon's Shadow heroes had long been prepared for this scenario, making the Demon King's conquest of the city almost effortless, and Su Yan's task was to facilitate this as much as possible internally. Less than half a day after Su Yan made the arrangements, the boss is here. She felt a fierce surge of energy. Su Yan quickly teleported out, and from a distance, she saw the massive and unstoppable army of the Demon King approaching Bachor City with overwhelming momentum. The Demon King is here. The Demon King is here. How could they arrive so fast? Impossible, this can't be happening. Everyone was stunned by the terrifying sight before them. The Empire had just issued the order to withdraw the troops less than a week ago, and so far, only the military and nobility had left. Most other people hadn't had the chance to flee yet, but who could have expected the Demon King to arrive so suddenly? We're done for. We're all done for. Most of the Empire and Duchy's forces have already withdrawn. How could Bachor now possibly withstand the Demon King's surprise attack? Before panic could spread, and even before most people could react, all defensive measures of Bachor City, including the city's protective barrier and various magic towers, were deactivated. 200 dragons simultaneously appeared in the sky above this vast city, unleashing wave after wave of terrifying dragon fear. Under this fearsome pressure, the military and civilians of Bachor City were immediately intimidated. Already frightened and desperate, they were unable to maintain any will to resist against such a show of force. As the will of Bachor City crumbled like a storm, countless warriors from Darkness City descended from the sky like raindrops onto the ground. Citizens of Bachor City, surrender immediately. If you submit and swear loyalty to the Great Lord of Darkness City, not only will you be spared punishment, but you can also become a proud and free member of the Chaos Federation. From now on, all who resist or attempt to flee will face the severest of punishments. In just a quarter of an hour, numerous tall and burly Draconians, along with elves, orcs, humans, hawkkins, and winged folks Federation warriors, entered various areas of Bachor City via airdrop. With the assistance of the Dragon's Shadow heroes, they smoothly completed the takeover and control of various streets and key areas. In less than half an hour, the vast Bachor City had completely lost any possibility of resistance and was entirely paralyzed. At this time, ground troops also began entering Bachor City from all directions. For a moment, the kings of giants, dwarves, and elves all acted simultaneously. It could be said that the entire process encountered almost no significant resistance. Zhang Nu, accompanied by Nancilia, walked into the Bachor family castle, which by then had already been abandoned as the Bachor family and their guards had evacuated in advance. Is this the Duke's mansion of the Empire? Nancilia looked around curiously. It looks so grand, almost comparable to the castle in Darkness City. Of course. What is the status of a duke? There are only 4 in the entire empire. Each ducal family's legacy, having at least 1,000 or 2,000 years of history, serves as the family residence and the core headquarters, naturally incomparable to an ordinary noble's castle. Zhang Nu planned to construct a teleportation tower here. This would effectively increase Darkness City's control over Bachor City. Once Bachor City was fully occupied, the Demon King's army would use Bachor City as the center, rapidly expanding to occupy cities in all directions. With the main city breached, what could these other cities do to resist? It seemed likely that Bachor Duchy, an area with the population and strength comparable to an independent kingdom, would soon be completely occupied. About half a day passed. Long Yi flew into the Duke's castle to report to Zhang Nu, "My master, everything is proceeding smoothly. With the assistance of the Dragon's Shadow heroes, we have essentially eradicated the stubborn forces within the city, as well as those associated with the hero guilds. Other family clans and faction citizens have gradually sworn their allegiance." Hearing the report, the Demon King was very satisfied. The largest, most important, and most fortified city in the southern territories of the empire had been captured without any significant resistance. Another half-day passed, and order had been mostly restored in the city. At this time, Zhang Nu received a notification. 7.52 million citizens of Bachor City have pledged their allegiance to you. You've captured Bachor City. You've gained an exquisite lunar diamond treasure chest. Receiving this message, Zhang Nu smiled slightly and nodded in satisfaction. Everything was progressing smoother than anticipated, the whole process didn't even require his intervention. The Empire hadn't played any tricks or plots, truly decisively giving up the southern territories. Zhang Nu then opened the treasure chest. The quality of this chest was even higher than the one from the Void City, due to the massive scale of Bachor City. It could be said that either the level 6 Monarch class units or the extremely important status of the main city in the southern territories contributed to its higher valuation. The only regret was that Bachor Duchy was not an independent region. This meant that even if the entire duchy was conquered, it wouldn't generate a region-specific treasure chest reward. But this wasn't a big deal for Zhang Nu, it simply meant that the rewards for conquering the empire would be combined. You've opened a lunar diamond treasure chest. You've gained gold x 2 billion, blueprint, Duke's Altar x1, level 5 special building upgrade scrolls x5, and 13 elemental gems x100, 000 each. Seeing the rewards, Zhang Nu clicked his tongue in amazement. A whopping 2 billion gold. That amount could summon approximately 500 abyssal dragons, certainly not a small number. Moreover, this was just direct income. As for indirect income from looting and plundering, as well as the income generated from the occupation of other cities apart from Bachor Duchy's main city, the number was expected to reach nearly 5 billion gold coins. If all 5 billion gold coins were used to recruit troops, the number of abyssal dragons in Darkness City would increase by over 1,000. Zhang Nu's Dragon Corps would then form an unparalleled combat force, strong enough to lead Darkness City's army to attack any city in the Empire. Regarding the Duke's Altar blueprint that came from the treasure chest, Zhang Nu checked it and found it to be a rare level 6 special building blueprint, very expensive to build but very powerful in effect. Once the Duke's Altar was constructed, it would enable the summoning of Imperial Duke level units. Imperial Dukes were level 6 Monarch class entities, which explained why this blueprint was ranked at level 6. Of course, for Zhang Nu, this blueprint wasn't particularly useful. He already had plenty of high-end units at his disposal, including the Monarch class units by his side and multiple demonic monarchs led by Han Kurson from Gloom City. Although the blueprint was valuable, Zhang Nu didn't plan to use it right away. The current priority was to stabilize the situation in Bachor City. Unable to find any suitable high-ranking members of the Bachor family, he fortunately appointed the Dark Dragon King, Long Yi, as the Lord of Bachor City and sent several human units, including the Holy Knight, by Jin, to assist him. The scale of the city and population that had been absorbed, and those that would be absorbed next, was enormous, so some time was needed to digest it all. Zhang Nu decided to simultaneously use various blueprints to rebuild the ecology and production of the southern territories while continually expanding his army and mass recruiting troops. This was in preparation for continuing northward to directly invade the imperial capital and prepare for a decisive battle with the Empire. Meanwhile, at the Thunder Empire's imperial temple, the sealed doors of the Hall of Valor slowly opened. Emperor Freelio XVI emerged, having spent a full 7 days inside, and at this moment, he had undergone a tremendous transformation. His hair had turned golden yellow. This golden hue was not a normal hair color. It looked more like strands of golden lightning and energy intertwined. Emperor Freelio's eyes shone with a golden light, like 2 bright bulbs, and his muscles were prominently bulging, as if he possessed endless strength, ready to burst forth at any moment. At this moment, the emperor was like a deity exalted above all. The empire's chief priest followed the emperor. This white-haired, elderly priest looked withered, indicating that the ceremony had taken a huge toll on him, even directly damaging his vitality and lifespan. The chief priest cautioned, "Your Majesty, you have now absorbed the heroic spirits of the previous emperors. Your power is greater than any previous emperor and you have obtained an almost immortal body. But please remember," he continued. "This peak state can only last for about 15 days. After 15 days, your power will gradually decline, and by the 30th day, it will completely dissipate. So please cherish this precious heritage of the Empire." Emperor Freelio nodded. To counter the Demon King of the Chaos Forest, he had utilized one of the Empire's trump cards. However, Freelio believed it was all worth it. With his current state, he felt that it was impossible for anyone in the world to defeat him. He considered himself nearly godlike. No matter how strong that Demon King was. No matter how troublesome the disaster of the Chaos Forest was. This time, the Empire had absolutely no reason to lose. Emperor Freelio XVI returned to the royal palace. At this moment, Marquis Gaberlain arrived with the courtiers. When they saw the emperor's condition and the aura he emitted, they were also greatly shocked. The imperial heritage was indeed terrifying. Emperor Frehlio asked, "How have things been these days?" Marquis Gaberlain answered, "While your majesty was performing the ritual in the Hall of Valor, the Demon King and his minions captured Bachor City and have been striking out from there. Now, most of the cities in Bachor Duchy may have already fallen into the hands of the Demon King." Emperor Frehlio became furious and inadvertently released a burst of power, causing a violent tremor in the Great Hall. "Humph, this damned Demon King is fast in his actions, acting recklessly and boldly as if he thinks there's no one in the Empire who can fight him? Your Majesty, please calm your anger." Even Marquis Gaberlain felt overwhelmed by the Emperor's powerful aura at this moment. He quickly wiped his sweat and reassured, "Please be assured, Your Majesty, the Empire has rapidly mobilized troops and entered the highest level of combat readiness, with all the elite forces fully assembled. Moreover, the Sunset Empire has sent their Eclipse Legion. The Prophet Primo has summoned a large number of top-ranking heroes and renowned strongmen from the continent, and other forces have also sent reinforcements and experts. With your Majesty personally leading the campaign, with such terrifying forces arrayed against him, how could the Demon King possibly not be defeated? The Empire will surely win." Hearing this, the Emperor finally nodded in satisfaction. Although a vast amount of land and population had been lost, if they could eliminate the Demon King, they would be able to reclaim what was lost. This time, the Empire was sparing no effort, staking the nation's fate, and going all out. Emperor Frehlio XVI was acutely aware that his enhanced state would not last long. He needed to completely subdue the Chaos Federation and reclaim the Empire's southern territories within 15 days, and at the latest within 30 days. Failing to do so would plunge the Empire into an endless prolonged conflict, a consequence the national strength of the Empire could not sustain. Under the guidance of Marquis Gaberlain, Emperor Frehlio first met with reinforcements from the Sunset Empire. The support from the Sunset Empire was not large in number, only 100,000 troops, which wasn't considered much. However, this time, the Sunset Empire had not made a perfunctory effort but had indeed invested heavily. These 100,000 were the famed Eclipse Knights Legion of the Sunset Empire, similar in standing to the Thunder Empire's Guardian Knights Legion. The Eclipse Knights Legion consisted of 100,000 high-level knights, each selected through rigorous screening from millions of soldiers in the Empire, making them the cream of the crop, both in terms of strength and combat experience. "Greetings, Your Majesty." The commander of the Eclipse Legion stepped forward to salute. Emperor Frehlio nodded slightly. "You must be the renowned Knight Commander Warren." This commander was a well-known figure in the Sunset Empire, with strength comparable to the Chief Knight of the Thunder Empire, a level 6 Monarch-class entity. He had led the Eclipse Knights for 20 years, a truly remarkable figure. However, his appearance did not surprise Emperor Frehlio. After all, the entire Eclipse Knights Legion had been dispatched. How could their commander not appear? Emperor Frehlio's attention did not linger on Knight Commander Warren. Instead, he scanned the 5 individuals accompanying Warren. These 5 were distinctly different in attire and demeanor from the Eclipse Knights, each dressed differently, of various ages, and their aura was no less formidable than Warren's. "These 5 are..." The Emperor, realizing the significance of their presence, did not wait for Warren to introduce them but instead proactively inquired about their origins. Warren immediately responded, "These 5 are from the renowned 7 Sword Saints of the Sunset Empire, 5 of whom have come to assist the Thunder Empire in combating the Demon King of the Southern Territories." So, it was as such. The 7 Sword Saints of the Sunset Empire were the Empire's most famous 7 top-tier powerhouses. The Sword Saints operated independently of the Empire's control, usually disregarding imperial commands or overtures, each possessing immense strength and representing the pinnacle of the Sunset Empire's warriors. Typically, such elusive and independent figures were difficult to gather. However, at this moment, aside from the 2 Sword Saints who had died, the remaining 5 had incredibly assembled here, which was quite astonishing. Emperor Frehlio was naturally very surprised. "The 7 Sword Saints of the Sunset Empire, with 2 unfortunately having perished, I did not expect that all 5 remaining would come here." Among the 7 Sword Saints of the Sunset Empire, 2 were heroes, Sato Satoru, the leader of the 7 Sword Saints known as the Formless Sword Saint, and another, the Inner Eye Sword Saint, Shosi. Both had died in battle against the Demon King. Sato Satoru was a level 6 mythic class figure, the strongest among the 7. The other 6 Sword Saints were all of a similar level, each a level 6 monarch class entity. That was to say, these 5 individuals here were all level 6 monarch class warriors. What an incredibly powerful force they represented. One of the Sword Saints spoke up, "Our participation does not represent the Empire, but is solely to reclaim the honor of the 7 Sword Saints." It turned out to be so. Discontent over the fall of their 2 comrades had driven these 5 Sword Saints to join forces in an attempt to restore their honor. Emperor Freelio XVI was not concerned with the reasons for their participation. As to him, the 5 Sword Saints were considerably strong. As long as they stood against the Demon King, they would be an asset to the Thunder Empire. Good. Very good. Emperor Freelio XVI was very pleased. He then, under Warren's guidance, glanced at the Eclipse Knights from the Sunset Empire. While the individual strength of these knights was not as high as the Guardian Knights, they still possessed an average strength of level 4. Most importantly, while there were only a few thousand Guardian Knights, there were as many as 100,000 Eclipse Knights. Their tactics and martial skills, honed through specialized training, allowed for seamless cooperation, making their collective strength comparable to, if not slightly better than, the Guardian Knights. After all, despite its intense internal strife, the Sunset Empire was a nation that greatly valued martial prowess and had a long-standing cavalry culture. In terms of knight training and the number of formidable warriors, it surpassed the Thunder Empire. At this moment, Marquis Gabrelain reminded, "The Prophet of Doom Primo has prepared a massive magical formation, which is ready to be activated soon to simulate the outcomes of the war. Why not take a look for yourself, Your Majesty?" Hearing this, Emperor Freelio took it seriously. As the saying goes, knowing the enemy and knowing yourself, you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. There were many reasons for the Thunder Empire's successive defeats in the southern territories, but the most crucial was the failure to accurately assess the situations of both sides, leading to underestimating the enemy and resulting in disastrous defeats. However, this time was different. The forces assembled by the Thunder Empire were not only unprecedentedly strong but also bolstered by reinforcements from powers like the Sunset Empire. How could they not handle a mere Demon King? With the addition of the Prophet of Doom, Primo, this would likely place the Empire in an invincible position. The Demon King's trump card was his mysterious methods and unpredictability. If the Empire could precisely discern the Demon King's movements, military scale, attack strategies, and routes, then the Demon King would stand no chance at all. With this thought, Emperor Freelio XVI didn't hesitate. He immediately went with his entourage to find the Prophet of Doom, Primo. Primo had already set up a massive magical array, powered by 36 energy crystals built into high towers, and had even borrowed the Royal Court Mage Corp to assist with the spell casting. With these enhancements, Primo's precognitive abilities would be significantly increased. Marquis Gabrelain notified Primo, "His Majesty is here, you can begin now. We need to understand the Demon King's next moves, including his attack route, timing, type and number of troops, and his strength." These were all critical pieces of information. Even knowing just one of these could bring tremendous value. Primo nodded, "Please rest assured, Marquis and Your Majesty. With this ceremonial site and the assistance of the Royal Court Mage Corp, I am absolutely confident that I can predict the outcome and details of this battle." Emperor Freelio said, "In that case, let's not delay any further, begin." Primo immediately went to the center of the area and sat down. He began to chant spells, while the other mages cast spells to enhance Primo's magical power. At that moment, a powerful domain instantly enveloped the area. Then, the projection of the imperial capital was cast from all directions. Everyone found themselves within this vast illusion. Unlike a reduced-scale sandbox map, this was a nearly one-to-one perfect-scale reproduction. The projection not only replicated the imperial capital and the surrounding landscape but also perfectly recreated all the people and all the animals. This is the Prophet using time magic to extract a true projection directly from the timeline. Marquis, although he had witnessed it twice before, was still shocked by this capability. Moreover, compared to when they were in the southern territories, the future scenarios the Prophet was accessing now were tenfold more extensive and complex in both scope and detail. Emperor Freelio also watched intently. He had to admit that the Prophet's renown was well-deserved. All the projections surrounding them were from the future, preemptively demonstrating everything that was about to occur. Primo continued to channel his magical power, and the projection, which was moving at a normal speed, suddenly accelerated dozens to hundreds of times faster. Everyone's lives and actions appeared as if on fast forward. Soon after, Emperor Freelio saw the scene he was looking for. To the north of the imperial capital, a dark line appeared, which was a massive army of at least 500,000 dragons, elves, orcs, dwarves, giants, humans, and almost every other race, making it an extremely diverse and vast force. Is this the army of the Chaos Forest? Emperor Freelio's pupils constricted slightly, his fists clenched, his expression grave. The Demon King's army was drawing nearer, and the capital had already made its preparations. Various barriers, magical formations, and defensive towers were activated at the first opportunity. The great battle was about to begin. The first to attack the imperial capital were roughly 1 to 200 powerful abyssal dragons, led by the Dark Dragon King and supported by long-range firepower from the Demon King's army, quickly creating a breach in the city's protective barrier. Subsequently, the Demon King's army split into several factions. They attacked from different directions simultaneously, breaking through the imperial defense lines, diverting the capital's attention, and then taking advantage of the chaos to infiltrate the imperial capital. During this battle, one particular object played a crucial role. It was none other than the Supreme Magitech Fortress, which had appeared several times in the southern campaign battles. Compared to before, this fortress had obviously been upgraded, making its firepower tremendously formidable. It could be said that without the firepower suppression from the Supreme Magitech Fortress, the Demon King's army would not have been able to easily breach the barriers and engage the Empire's army in fierce head-to-head combat. In addition to what was observed, Emperor Freelio and Marquis Gaberlain noted several figures of interest in these projections, such as Nancilia and Long Yi, both possessing level 6 strength, along with Zhang San, Li Si, and other king figures like the Elven King, Giant King, Dwarven King, Orc King, and Human King. It's evident that the high-end combat capabilities of Darkness City, the variety of its military units, and its tactical methodologies were laid bare for the Empire to see for the first time. This direct exposure allowed the Imperial personnel to fully appreciate the formidable capabilities of Darkness City. The strength of that army is terrifying. It's no wonder then, remarked Marquis Gaberlain gravely. The strength displayed by the Demon King's army far surpasses the combined military might of the Empire's southern territories. It's clear that the defeat of the ducal forces was inevitable. We lost because we did not understand the Demon King well enough and underestimated the rapid growth of his forces. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. However, with these troops alone, it is impossible to shake the imperial capital. They are essentially marching to their demise. Yet, the Prophet Primo spoke gravely, this Demon King is more than meets the eye. Do not be deceived by the appearances you see now. In Primo's prophecy projection, the battle between the imperial army and the Demon King's army was still ongoing. Despite the ferocious onslaught of the Demon King's forces, it was clear that after several rounds of attacks, they had not managed to break through the defenses decisively. Failing to achieve a quick victory could lead to a weakening momentum. At this point, the imperial side began a full-scale counterattack. The Sunset Empire's Eclipse Knights, who had been lying in ambush, along with the elite troops stationed nearby, all struck back at the Demon King's army with astonishing speed. The top fighters of the imperial faction took action. The 5-Sword Saints, Primo, Will, and other various powerhouses, including a dozen or so level 6 Monarch-class entities, intervened. This force effectively suppressed the Demon King's army. The two sides were locked in a stalemate, with the Demon King's forces visibly diminished and gradually falling into a disadvantage, on the verge of being pushed back. However, just at that moment, something unexpected happened. A blurred figure descended from the sky, his and the surrounding space twisted as if pixelated, and he instantly eliminated nearly half of the high-level fighters on the Empire's side, catching the Imperial army off guard and causing immediate chaos. This is... Both the Marquis and the Emperor focused their attention on the blurred figure. Prophet Primo spoke, there's no mistake, that's the true Demon King of Darkness City. His power is exceedingly formidable, likely possessing top-tier space-time abilities, which is why predictions about him appear blurred and unclear. Indeed, behind the scenes in Darkness City, the real Demon King had yet to make a move. Even with Prophet Primo's precognitive abilities, it was impossible to clearly discern the type of his techniques or his exact strength. But seeing how many of the Empire's strongest, including the 5-Sword Saints, were effortlessly wiped out, it is evident. The Demon King's power exceeded level 6 mythic. He might well be a level 6 legendary entity. While in such a massive battle, the impact an individual mortal could have was limited. When one reached the level of power that the Demon King possessed, he could no longer be measured by mortal standards. It could be said, a legendary unit would truly be a demigod. With just one move from the Demon King, the situation, which had been favorable for the Empire, was immediately rewritten. The Demon King's forces, once again under the firepower suppression of the Supreme Magitech Fortress, launched an attack on the Imperial capital, causing severe destruction, and leaving half the city engulfed in flames. If this devastation continued, the Imperial capital would certainly fall. Just at this critical moment, a golden, blurred figure soared into the sky. This figure was none other than Emperor Frehlio. Although his form was as unclear as if distorted, it was unmistakably him. Emperor Frehlio's power was so immense that the space and time around him were difficult to measure accurately. However, once he joined the battle, he quickly engaged the Demon King in a fierce fight, effectively restraining the powerful adversary. Seizing this rare opportunity, led by many of the Empire's top warriors, the Empire successfully destroyed the Magitech fortress located in the midst of the Demon King's army. Without the fortress's fire support, the intensity of the attack significantly decreased. Under the leadership of the Emperor, after a tough and extraordinary battle, the Imperial forces successfully repelled the assault from the Demon King. Although they paid a heavy price, they ultimately won the war. The simulation ended. Primo temporarily halted the projection. Emperor Frehlio, Marquis Gaberlain, and others were deep in thought. According to the vision they discussed, the Empire eventually defeated the Demon King's army. However, the Demon King was not killed, and the Imperial capital suffered heavy losses. It can only be considered a Pyrrhic victory. Even though we successfully quelled this troop of the Demon King, we do not have enough strength to immediately destroy the Chaos Forest. Emperor Frehlio nodded. Gaberlain, what do you think we should do? The Marquis immediately responded, I have memorized the key attack routes of the Demon King's army. By strengthening our defenses specifically along these routes, we can slow down the Demon King's offensive and reduce our losses. During this attack by the Demon King's army, the mobile Magitech fortress played a crucial role in fire suppression. If we can destroy this fortress from the start, then the Demon King won't be able to breach the Imperial capital. Furthermore, the Demon King initially remained hidden and suddenly struck at a critical moment, killing nearly half of our top combat strength, which led to the turn of the situation. If we prepare in advance, not only can we avoid losses, but we might also be able to ambush the Demon King. Marquis Gaberlain methodically analyzed the war and made numerous suggestions for defensive adjustments and strategies to counter the Demon King's various types of troops. Emperor Frehlio XVI nodded in satisfaction. He turned to Primo and asked, Prophet, after making improvements, can we initiate another prediction? Primo nodded and said, the projections on the timeline represent only one possible future direction, which can be changed. Any influence we exert may alter the scenes that appear on the timeline. That being so, the battle had not yet started, and the Demon King's forces were already thoroughly analyzed by the Empire. The Empire knew how many monarchs were in the Demon King's army, how many races, how many divisions, and even the combat strengths and attack strategies of different units. Under these circumstances, the Empire could continually rehearse and refine its strategies. How could the Demon King possibly stand a chance? Meanwhile, in Darkness City, Zhang Nu received the latest news. The Demon King's army was about to complete the total annexation of the Bacor Duchy, and recently, they had been gathering gold, materials, and blueprints abundantly. Just then, Zhang Nu sensed a disturbance in the timeline. A slight smile curled at the corner of his mouth. He guessed it must be that prophet simulating the future again. These people could never imagine that the projection of time they were seeing had been carefully edited by someone. What they saw was significantly lacking, which would lead to very severe consequences. About time. Bacor Duchy has fallen. It's also time for Darkness City to officially challenge the Empire, Zhang Nu decided. He resolved to strike while the iron was hot and seize the entire Empire in one go. Recently, the morale in Darkness City had been soaring. After all, significant successes had been achieved on both the northern and southern fronts. The momentum of the Chaos Federation was growing exponentially. To advance further, the only option left was to completely occupy an empire and officially ascend to the status of an imperial-level power. For players in the Demon King's faction, taking down an empire meant the completion of the Demon King's venture. Zhang Nu was well aware that this battle, unlike previous ones, was high in both complexity and difficulty, so he had to be thoroughly prepared. First, he used a level 5 special building upgrade scroll. Zhang Nu upgraded an important military facility of the Chaos Federation, the Citadel of Eternity. The Citadel of Eternity, as an extremely robust and mobile stronghold, could serve both as a transportation tool for military forces and provide substantial fire support on the battlefield, playing a crucial role in this fight. Would you like to upgrade the Citadel of Eternity? This upgrade costs gold x 700 million, 10 elemental gems x 100,000 each. Citadel of Eternity upgraded successfully. You have unlocked new Magitech units. You have unlocked the Parallel Matrix, Citadel Cannons plus 100, Super Citadel Cannon plus 10. The Citadel of Eternity, as a level 5 special building, had been upgraded directly to a level 6 special building due to Zhang Nu's use of an upgrade scroll, greatly enhancing its attributes and performance. Firstly, the summonable Magitech units. The Citadel of Eternity unlocked the ability to summon level 6 combat units. At the same time, the number of summonable units of other levels also increased by at least threefold, significantly boosting the combat power of the Citadel of Eternity. Additionally, the Citadel of Eternity unlocked the Parallel Matrix. This feature allows the Magic Fortress's main functions to operate concurrently and in parallel, thus greatly enhancing the overall strength of the fortress. For example, the previous version of the Citadel of Eternity could not run its mobility, teleportation, and defense capabilities simultaneously. That is, during movement or while preparing for teleportation, the magic protective barrier could not be activated. This meant that if enemies seized the opportunity to attack, they could potentially disrupt the fortress during movement or teleportation, causing severe damage or casualties instantly. Now, however, things were different. After the upgrade, the Citadel of Eternity gained the capability to run its Magitech matrix in a parallel sequence. This meant that the defensive barrier could be activated during movement or teleportation, significantly enhancing the fortress's security and greatly increasing its strategic value. In addition to the aforementioned changes, the most significant transformation of the Citadel of Eternity was that its firepower has become more formidable than before. The level 5 Citadel of Eternity had 10 standard Magitech cannons and 1 Super Magitech cannon. The power of a single shot from the Super Magitech cannon was roughly equivalent to the full-force strike of a top-tier level 5 Mage Overlord, which was powerful but clearly insufficient for the current stage. Now, the situation had changed. After the upgrade, the Magic Fortress had gained an additional 100 Magitech cannons, and all Magitech cannons could be upgraded to Super Magitech cannons. This meant that the effect of 110 level 5 Overlord level Mage units launching continuous full-force attacks was quite astonishing. Among these 110 Super Magitech cannons, 10 could be upgraded to Ultimate Magitech cannons, equivalent to the full-force attack of a level 6 Overlord level magical unit. The immense power and devastating impact of these cannons could play a remarkable role on the battlefield. The number of launch wells and magic missiles in the Magic Fortress had also significantly increased, meaning a substantial enhancement in the long-range attack capability of this supreme Magitech fortress. Just then, Han Kurson returned. As the Prime Minister of the Chaos Federation, she was well aware of the current situation of the Federation. Upon learning that Zhang Nu was about to challenge the Empire, she took it very seriously and decided to halt the development of the Chaos Sea to return and assist Zhang Nu fully. As soon as Han Kurson arrived back, she saw the upgraded Magic Fortress. After understanding its capabilities, she was very excited. I didn't expect that after the upgrade, the Magitech Fortress's firepower and combat abilities have improved so much. It's no longer just a fortress, but a large Magitech warship. With its firepower support, attacking the Empire will be much easier. Zhang Nu, however, said, relying solely on this Magitech fortress is far from enough. Moreover, if I'm not mistaken, the Empire's hero, Primo, has already foreseen the upgraded Magitech fortress, so the Empire will definitely be prepared. Are you talking about that Prophet of Doom, Primo? Han Kurson said gravely, I've seen his name on the hero leaderboard. His abilities are indeed not easy to deal with. Do you have any counter-strategies? To this, Zhang Nu smiled and said, don't worry about it. When it comes to controlling the domain of space and time, currently, no hero or demon king can compare with me. You really are arrogant. Han Kurson rolled her eyes in exasperation. However, complaints aside, she knew Zhang Nu very well. Far from being arrogant, he was exceptionally cautious. Boasting was not his style, and if he could make such a statement, it indicated that he had the confidence and assurance. Curious, Han Kursen asked, "So, how do you plan to counter the Prophet's tactics?" Zhang Nu replied, "The Prophet's ability is merely to use time magic to steal real projections from the future timeline. I just need to hide some parts to prevent him from spying on them." This issue was somewhat complex. Simply put, Zhang Nu would divide his attacking forces into two parts. One part would be visible, attacking the imperial capital alongside the Citadel of Eternity from the front. The other part would be hidden. Zhang Nu would conceal them within the Abyssal Divine Realm, utilizing its secrecy to transport the troops onto the battlefield. Thus, with Primo's abilities, he would only be able to see the forces in the open. Even using his abilities to deduce the outcome of the battle would already be challenging. Neither Primo nor anyone else in the Empire could expect or predict that after this round of attacks, there would be an even more fierce attack. They would only prepare defenses based on the previous battle projection. Zhang Nu immediately began preparations. He kept only 200 abyssal dragons to move with the main army, while all other abyssal dragons were placed into the abyssal realm. Additionally, he assembled a large force from the Chaos Forest, including previously unseen elite combatants such as the Gloom City Demons led by Han Kursen, the Ents from the Chaos Forest, a large number of high-level Draconian combat units, plus some recently recruited high-tier human and forest troops. In total, this force numbered about 300,000. Once they were hidden in Zhang Nu's realm, which had acquired spatial temporal independence by absorbing the Void Seed, their existence in this world's timeline was effectively erased. Unless they reappeared suddenly, using time magic to predict their movements was impossible, meaning they could appear from another world at any moment and disrupt all forthcoming events on the timeline. With such a capability of striking unexpectedly from the shadows, Primo's foresight becomes virtually useless and meaningless to Zhang Nu, potentially even backfiring and causing the Empire to entrap itself. During the process of amassing troops in his realm, Zhang Nu's actions were mirrored for the Chaos Federation's army, which gathered openly and without disguise. A massive army of 500,000 to 600,000 quickly formed, and if the combat units within the Citadel of Eternity were included, the size of this army could reach up to nearly 1,000,000. It could be said that this was the largest force assembled since the founding of the Chaos Federation. Such a large-scale mobilization of troops could not go unnoticed by the Empire, and the Empire would discover that the size and composition of this army were not different from the predictions of the Prophet of Doom. Han Kursen asked, "We have only recently conquered Bachor Dechi, and you are immediately assembling a large army to attack the core of the Empire. Isn't this too soon?" Zhang Nu understood the Succubus Queen's concerns. Indeed, the Federation's expansion rate had been exceedingly high recently. Such a vast territory and such a large population could not be assimilated in a short time. The Chaos Federation had not yet assimilated the Southern Territory's population and was already thinking of striking directly at the imperial capital, aiming to destroy the heart and brain of the Empire, which inevitably made it seem like the Demon King wanted to bite off more than he could chew. However, Zhang Nu said, "No, I believe the timing is almost ripe. Taking down the Empire is not urgent, but we must dismantle the Empire's operations, otherwise top heroes from all over the world will continue to be drawn here." So far, Zhang Nu was the only Demon King who posed a significant threat and had a great chance of conquering an imperial-level power. It was certain that news about this place could not be kept secret for long, and in a short time, it had already attracted the Prophet of Doom, Primo. In the future, it was uncertain that more and stronger heroes, along with their backing forces, wouldn't come here. If top-ranked heroes, each a level 7 legendary figure, were to join the battle, it would pose a significant threat to Darkness City. Since it could not be hidden anyway, there was no point in hiding anymore. Zhang Nu now only wanted to complete the conquest as quickly as possible, partly to disrupt the Empire's control in this region and partly to seize the opportunity to obtain more rewards. Additionally, there's another matter I need your help with, Zhang Nu instructed Han Kursen. I need to find the other shards of the eight-eyed evil god. I need relevant intelligence. Han Kursen nodded, "Leave it to me." With 2 level 6 talents, only one was currently activated. The other required materials that were too rare. Zhang Nu found that directly purchasing or searching for godhood was too difficult, so he decided to take another approach, such as completely gathering all the shards of an evil god. An evil god is still a god. Obtaining all the shards of an evil god would effectively activate a godhood. With the godhood, Zhang Nu could activate his second talent and then ascend directly to level 7, becoming an existence 10 or even 100 times more powerful than he currently was. Just then, Li Si teleported in front of Zhang Nu. He knelt on one knee and said, "My lord, our troops have once again completed their assembly and are ready to follow your commands at any time." "If that's the case, then let's prepare to move." Zhang Nu stood on the castle ramparts, looking towards the Northern Empire, and nodded in satisfaction. "It's time to shatter this empire that has been entangled with us for so long." Outside Darkness City, in front of the Stellar Gateway, the Demon King's army was gathering once again. This was an unprecedentedly massive legion, primarily composed of 4 main divisions: the Draconian Legion, the Elven Legion, the Human Legion, and the Forest Allied Legion. The Draconian Legion, aside from Long Yi, Zhang San, Li Si, and 4 other dragon kings, Zhang Nu had selected 5 abyssal dragons of equal potential to Long Yi during this period from the Dragon Legion. These dragons, possessing excellent talents and attributes, were elevated to dragon kings through the Soul Altar. This meant that within the Draconian Legion, there were now 12 dragon kings. In addition to the 12 powerful dragon kings, there were also 200 abyssal dragons, over 5,000 demon guards, and 60,000 draconian super soldiers, totaling over 100,000 elite draconian troops, with basic unit strengths ranging from level 3 to level 4. One can imagine how powerful this force was. The Draconian Legion was the core of the Demon King's forces. However, the Demon King's elven and human forces had also developed to the point where they could stand alone. The Elven Legion, numbering over 100,000, comprised entirely of elite elves, was led by leaders such as Nancilia and Marilyn. As for the human troops, they had risen rapidly recently. During the process of conquering the Empire's southern territories, the Demon King naturally incorporated a large number of troops, acquired numerous blueprints, and recruited many knights, mages, and top soldiers. The number of combatants from the human forces participating in this conflict reached 250,000. The fourth part of the Demon King's army consisted of various forest races, such as giants, dwarves, orcs, and other forest groups, totaling about 250,000. The leaders of the Forest Allied Legion included the giant King Jin Kuei, the orc King Gru, and the dwarf King Zhang Dachui, among others. The combat strength of all units in this legion was also much stronger than the regular Imperial legions. This force, in terms of both number and scale, was undeniably massive, and these were not all the forces being mobilized. In addition to deploying a large number of powerful subordinates, the Demon King also dispatched fortress legions, including troops from the Citadel of Eternity. Just the Magitech combat units numbered over 100,000, with about 80,000 mage units, totaling 200,000. Overall, the scale of the Demon King's army nearly constituted a veritable million-strong army. This force was not only terrifying in number, but their strength was also formidable, not merely amassed for the sake of numbers. Their power was enough to shock all other demon kings in the world. All warriors of the Federation. We will next pass through the Stellar Gateway, using the portal to directly enter the heartland of the Empire, bypassing the outer defenses and aiming directly for the Imperial capital. Our enemies this time are extraordinarily powerful. But this battle concerns the fate of the Federation. We must achieve victory and cannot afford to lose. Long Yi, transformed into his dragon form, his powerful voice spread across the wilderness, making it clear to all warriors present, stirring and inspiring everyone. Winning this battle could decisively change the world's geopolitical landscape. The Demon King would lead the Chaos Federation to become a pivotal force in this world, potentially rewriting everyone's destiny. The enemy was indeed very strong, targeting directly at the heart of the Empire. No one dared to underestimate the Empire's depth. However, the warriors felt no fear. They were absolutely confident in the Federation's current strength. Moreover, even if they died in battle, as long as they performed well, they could be resurrected by the Demon King. With this in mind, why not fight with all their might? After Long Yi finished his speech, he transformed back into human form and descended, saying, "My master, all units have assembled, all equipment, potions, and blessings are ready, we can depart and enter the battle at any moment." Zhang Nu nodded in satisfaction. "Since that is the case, let us delay no longer, begin." He activated the Stellar Gateway, countless runes appeared on the gateway, terrifying energy continuously gathered, ultimately forming an open spatial portal. Simultaneously, above the plains near the Imperial capital, the sky and earth abruptly changed color as a fierce wind arose. A vast energy gate was summoned in this location, still over 2,000 miles from the Imperial capital. This was the maximum range of the stellar gateway. If Zhang Nu had not upgraded the gateway to a level 6 building, summoning a portal on the imperial capital's Great Plains, or even near the Bachelor Duchy, would have been impossible. Even at level 6, the stellar gateway could not directly summon a portal near the imperial capital due to the distance. Even if a portal could be summoned across such a vast distance, the stringent defenses around the imperial capital would likely destroy it before it could fully form. After the spatial gate was established, over 200 abyssal dragons charged out first, followed by other troops, all proceeding orderly, and quickly a quarter of the troops had passed through the spatial gate. However, just then, large flocks of griffins suddenly appeared from all directions. Upon closer inspection, these were not just griffins, but griffin riders. Each majestic golden-winged griffin carried a knight clad in golden armor, members of the Imperial Royal Griffin Knight Order. The Royal Griffin Knight Order was a well-known knight order of the Thunder Empire. Although this knight order was very powerful, it rarely participated in battle. Their presence now only indicated that the Empire had been well prepared, guessing that the Demon King would appear here, so they had ambushed in advance, attempting to destroy the spatial gate. Such an act could only be achieved with prior foresight. Meanwhile, at the Imperial capital, Your Majesty, the Demon King's Legion has appeared. Everything is as the prophet predicted. The timing and location of the invasion are exactly accurate. Emperor Freelio received the news and was overjoyed. He laughed loudly. Good, 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 let's see what tricks the Demon King can play this time. Near the portal, the Demon King's army was under attack by the Empire. The Royal Griffin Knight Order, unlike typical knights, was equipped not with lances, but with war hammers. Cavalry rarely use short weapons like war hammers, but in the hands of these human knights, the hammers were not easy to handle. She was seen gathering in the war hammers, and the Royal Griffin Knights threw their hammers. Instantly, the hammers swelled in size dozens of times in the wind, transforming into a giant hammer interwoven with lightning, moving at an incredibly fast speed. Even the formidable physique of ogres, when struck by such a hammer, was instantly smashed into pieces. Even the average silver giants would suffer significant injuries from such a hit. This was because the Royal Griffin Knight Order uniformly practiced the Tempest Thunderhammer martial technique, a long-range attack technique of considerable power. Although the number of Royal Griffin Knights was not large, when they launched a collective attack, the effect was still very powerful. Everyone together. Attack the portal. Under the cover of other units' fire, the Royal Griffin Knights quickly moved to the side of the portal, jointly attacking the portal. It was known that the portal itself was not stable. If it were to sustain such a fierce attack suddenly, the portal might be disrupted, preventing the majority of the Demon King's army from being transported. Given that the Stellar Gateway, despite its convenience, has a cooldown period between activations, if the front and rear of the Demon King's forces were separated, they would immediately find themselves in a predicament. Protect the portal. Long Yi roared as he transformed into his dragon form, releasing a vast cloud of black mist that instantly absorbed some of the attacks, but alone, he was not enough to completely protect the portal. Divine Tree Sanctuary. Seeing the situation, Nancilia quickly activated her domain ability. Countless massive roots burst from the ground, encasing the area around the portal in layers like armor to shield it from attacks. At the same time, Zhang San, Li Si, and other top fighters from Darkness City also activated their domains or cast magical barriers, firmly protecting the portal within them. Although the attacks from the Royal Griffin Knights were sharp and fierce, breaking through their defense in a short time was not an easy task. The teleportation process might be slowed, but with just this amount of Imperial forces, disrupting it was impossible. The Empire, anticipating this, saw that breaking the portal was hopeless. Fortunately, they gave up continuing to attack the portal and instead took advantage of it to tie down the top experts of Darkness City, then quickly launched attacks on other parts of the army that had not yet secured their footing. After a brief and intense battle, the Empire, using their prearranged ambush, inflicted some losses on the Demon King's army as they passed through the portal. However, in the end, the Demon King's army still successfully arrived. Meanwhile, accompanied by violent spatial fluctuations, a towering and immense fortress was transported. The moment the Citadel of Eternity arrived, its formidable firepower and attack capabilities immediately assumed a dominant position on the battlefield. Upon seeing this, the Imperial troops immediately made a decisive retreat without engaging in further combat. Zhang Nu stood within the fortress, observing the somewhat chaotic and disordered battlefield, but he was not angry. Instead, a subtle cold smile hung at the corner of his mouth. Your Majesty. Nancilia approached and said, the Empire had anticipated that our portal would appear here, so they prepared an ambush in advance. Although it caused us some losses and trouble, it did not prevent the formation of the spatial gate. That's inevitable, Zhang Nu smiled and said. The Empire just wanted to intimidate us, they weren't truly trying to stop our invasion. Hearing this, Nancilia was somewhat confused. The rationale was quite simple. The Empire had no real need to do this, because even if they stopped the invasion once, there would be a second and third time. As long as the Demon King still existed, war would be inevitable. Compared to the Empire, the growth rate of the Demon King's army was clearly faster. From the Empire's perspective, with the terrifyingly rapid strength increase of the Chaos Federation, time was on the side of the Chaos Federation. Given this, it was naturally better to conclude the war sooner rather than later. The longer the delay, the more disadvantageous it was for the Empire. And rather than having the Empire to launch an offensive, it was better to respond calmly, wait at ease, and firmly hold the home field advantage. The Demon King army dared to utilize spatial means to directly transport to the core heartland of the Empire. They must be prepared for the possibility of being completely annihilated by the Empire, as escaping would be almost impossible. If the Empire could destroy them with relatively minor losses, the subsequent counterattack into the Chaos Forest will be much easier. Zhang Nu calmly said, heal the injured ones, adjust the combat formation, and we will head directly towards the imperial capital, aiming to arrive in the shortest time possible. Yes, his subordinates promptly responded. Following this, the Demon King's army quickly mobilized. 200 abyssal dragons, leading 100,000 flying draconian troops, cleared the path ahead. All military fortresses and obstructive troops and defenses encountered along the way were struck with devastating blows immediately. As the Demon King's army approached with formidable momentum, the imperial capital had already sounded the alarm, and everyone was busily engaged. The Demon King's army will arrive at the imperial capital in about 2 days. Effective immediately, the entire city of the imperial capital is under martial law. All non-combat units must not leave their homes to avoid unnecessary trouble. The vast imperial capital, a city with a population of millions, was now enveloped in a tense atmosphere. Layers upon layers of barriers were activated, magic towers were lit, and millions of combat units entered a state of readiness, keeping everyone in the Empire extremely busy. Marquis Gaberlain approached the Emperor to report, we have deployed numerous traps and ambushes along the way, which should sufficiently weaken the Demon King's army and give us more time to prepare. Emperor Freelio 16 nodded in satisfaction. Up to this point, everything was proceeding according to plan. Now, the entire population of the outer city of the imperial capital had been relocated inside the inner city, and a large number of streets and houses in the outer city had been forcibly requisitioned by the imperial army to serve as the base for combat operations. Emperor Freelio himself ascended a temporarily constructed command platform. He was accompanied by nearly 20 of the Empire's top powerhouses, including the Prophet Primo, the Sunset Five-Sword Saints, and Gaberlain. These individuals all possessed level 6 strength and were generally of monarch level at the very least. As for Emperor Freelio himself, he was dressed in new armor that was different from his usual attire. He wore a golden armor with the appearance of a dragon coiling around it and wielded a golden crystal greatsword, the material of which was unknown. Undoubtedly, both the armor and the greatsword were epic-level equipment that were not only rare but also of exceptionally high quality even among other epic-level items. Let this Demon King witness the true depth of strength an empire possesses. Freelio declared. He will pay the price for his ignorance and folly. Freelio's entire being radiated a powerful aura, and as he spoke, a dozen or so faint apparitions appeared behind him. These were not mere illusions, they were actually the spirits of the emperors of ages past. And my Thunder Empire will avenge past humiliations and reclaim everything we've lost. Victory for the Empire, shouted Marquis Gaberlain. Hundreds, even thousands, of the Empire's most powerful warriors and countless legions from every direction also roared in response, their cries echoing through the heavens. Victory for the Empire! Victory for the Empire! Emperor Freelio 16 loudly declared, initiate the ceremony. The Empire's chief priest, a venerable man with white hair, led the imperial priests in beginning the ritual. Dozens of imperial altars lit up, casting various blessings, enhancements, and buffs layer by layer upon the Empire's combat units. As an imperial power, having various means and depths of resources was not unusual. Although the buffs bestowed by the Empire on its troops might not compare with the divine blessings stacked by the several temples of Darkness City, they were sufficient to allow this army to perform with extraordinary combat effectiveness in the coming days. The time soon arrived, and the Empire had made all its preparations. On the distant horizon, a dark line was slowly becoming visible. If one had a powerful enough vision, they would recognize that this line was none other than the 200 abyssal dragons of the Demon King. Flanked by countless draconian royal guards and draconian battle mages transformed into drakes numbering at least in the thousands, followed by a vast number of highly trained and baptized draconian super soldiers. They are coming. Emperor Freelio XVI once again affirmed his confidence. Before this battle began, the prophet had conducted numerous prophecy sessions, and the Empire had continuously adjusted its deployment and plans according to these predictions, achieving near perfection under the existing conditions. At this moment, the scale and mode of the Demon King's army's invasion almost perfectly matched the projections seen on the timeline. Even the slight variations were normal disturbances, and everything was going according to plan. Your Majesty, they have arrived. As these dragons and draconians approach, they will first use their dragon fear to intimidate our forces, causing temporary dizziness and confusion among our soldiers. Then they will use dragon flame and thunder in concentrated attacks to break the protective barriers of the imperial capital, creating opportunities for breaching our defenses in the subsequent assault. Marquis Gaberlain was speaking when the 200 abyssal dragons approached. As if to confirm his words, led by Long Yi, the dragons almost simultaneously unleashed a long-accumulated and ferociously powerful dragon fear attack. This invisible and pervasive shockwave instantly enveloped the imperial defending forces like a blanket. Spiritual barrier. The Empire was prepared. Several specially constructed altars lit up. After these altars absorbed a large number of spirit gems as offerings, they released a psychic energy that was the exact opposite in nature to the dragon fear. When the two forces collided, they neutralized each other. What's going on? Long Yi found that his full-strength dragon fear had not caused even the slightest impact on the humans. It was somewhat unbelievable. Psychic attacks usually have very few defensive measures. His expression darkened. These humans were indeed prepared, making our dragon fear ineffective. Never mind, let's quickly open a gap in the outer barrier first. Everyone, coordinate with my attack. As he spoke, Long Yi opened his massive jaws, and a column of dragon flame, as thick as a train car, was released from his mouth. The other dragons, having prepared for a long time, also released their fire columns at the same time. All the fire columns converged with Long Yi's, forcefully merging into 100 or 200 streams of dragon flames. They ultimately coalesced into a dense super dragon flame. This combined dragon flame attack was a maneuver that Long Yi and his subordinates had developed after extensive practice, capable of instantaneously producing a force powerful enough to annihilate a level 6 mythic unit. No matter how strong the barriers of the imperial capital were, they could not withstand this attack. Such a terrifying attack, even a level 6 legendary unit could not emerge completely unscathed. However, the Empire was still well prepared. Thousands of royal mages had readied themselves and, as if anticipating the move, summoned a massive spatial rift right in front of the super dragon fire. The dragon fire hadn't even touched the barrier and was directly sucked into this rift. The entire space was severely distorted, causing a violent spatial explosion, but the aftershocks of this explosion were unable to threaten the barrier of the imperial capital. At this, the dragons were stunned. Their attacks had been countered twice. As the saying goes, the initial forceful effort weakens on the second attempt and is exhausted by the third. Emperor Freelio XVI laughed heartily upon seeing this. Ha ha ha, thanks to our prophet, their methods are now ineffective against us. Just then, the massive Supreme Magitech fortress and hundreds of thousands of the Demon King's army arrived from behind. Emperor Freelio XVI spoke sternly. They've appeared, continue as planned, deal with this fortress first, we must not let it function. Through numerous foresight sessions, Emperor Freelio XVI was well aware that the fortress not only possessed fierce firepower but also housed between 100 and 200,000 Magitech units and mage units. The ferocity of their combined firepower was unimaginable, so it had to be dealt with. With these two successful and perfect suppressions just now, the Emperor was full of confidence. He believed that as long as they continued to follow the plan, they could completely destroy the fortress before it could be effective, rendering it useless. And without this fortress, the Demon King's army would not only pose no threat to the imperial capital, but they would also have no chance to retreat or escape, ultimately doomed to destruction under the Empire's trap. The Demon King must die. Emperor Freelio XVI raised his crystal giant sword, deciding to personally confront the upcoming Demon King. This real Demon King was very strong, but with his current state, boosted by the spirits of imperial ancestors, along with the vast imperial army, Empire's experts, and heroes from all sides assisting him, he was fully capable of fighting and even capturing the Demon King. The Emperor had considered every detail of this battle and believed that there was no possibility of defeat. Release the sky-shrouding orb. Emperor Freelio XVI issued an order. At a specially constructed magic tower, nearly 1,000 high-level mages sat in a circle, collectively chanting and casting spells to channel their magical power into the tower before them. As this immense magical power was converted by the tower, it eventually all flowed into a black magical crystal orb at the top of the tower. From this orb, an intensely thick black mist was released. This black mist quickly spread, soon enveloping the battlefield. The sky-shrouding orb, a top-tier epic-grade item of the dark element, possessed no offensive capabilities but could release a mist that shielded all forms of perception and scanning. Such epic-grade equipment was plentiful in the arsenal of the Thunder Empire. While the sky-shrouding orb itself did not have direct combat effects, its ability to broadly block perception and visibility could also affect their own troops. The primary reason the Thunder Empire deployed this item on the battlefield was to counter the Demon King's Magitech fortress. The weaponry of the magic fortress, including the tens of thousands of troops housed within, could only perform optimally when targets were accurately acquired. If the scanning and locking capabilities of the magic fortress could be blocked, then the fortress would quickly lose most of its threat. This would provide the Empire's elites with the opportunity and time needed to sabotage the fortress. This tactic, having been validated through the Prophet's predictions for its feasibility, was now unfolding as a vast expanse of obscuring magic mist rapidly enveloped the battlefield. In a matter of moments, the Magitech fortress was swallowed by the thick mist. Everyone found themselves trapped within the dense mist, with visibility reduced to less than half a meter, and all sensory-type magic absorbed by the fog, plunging them into a situation akin to blindness. Primo said, "This mist will last at most 10 minutes before they find a way to disperse it. Whether we can destroy the fortress will be determined in this single effort. It's of no concern." Emperor Freelio XVI, radiating light from his body, spoke in a deep voice, "Join me, lend me your strength to destroy the fortress and kill the Demon King." As he spoke, Emperor Freelio XVI emitted a golden glow. He shone like a small sun, instantly diving into the thick black fog before him, accompanied by a whole unit of the Empire's royal guard. This bodyguard unit was not large, totaling only about 10,000 men. However, they were second only to the Guardian Knights in terms of combat power within the Thunder Empire. Prophet Primo added, "Will, you go help as well, try to capture the Demon King directly for us." The hero, Will, did not hesitate, on it. According to Primo's estimation, destroying the fortress would not be difficult. However, killing the Demon King would not be an easy task, but this group of super-powerful allies was sure to deplete the Demon King's combat resources, allowing Primo to potentially take advantage of the situation. It was not just the hero Will, Marquis Gabrielain and 4 other level 6 Monarch-class top Imperial fighters, along with the 5 Sword Saints from the Thunder Empire, all followed Emperor Freelio XVI under the cover of the fog, directly charging into the midst of the Demon King's army. "Out of my way," roared Emperor Freelio XVI, enveloped in a powerful aura, as he swung his crystalline greatsword fiercely at the guards of the Chaos Federation near the fortress. At this moment, the Emperor himself possessed the strength of a level 6 legendary. His power was comparable to any emperor at the zenith of the Empire's history, and the weapon in his hand was of the highest epic tier, capable of unimaginable force. With a sweep of golden light, hundreds of high-ranking units from Darkness City were instantly reduced to ashes. Although the firepower of the Magitech fortress was ferocious, a concentrated attack would normally prevent someone as powerful as Emperor Freelio at this moment from easily getting close. But now, unable to lock onto targets and relying only on random attacks, they posed no threat to Emperor Freelio XVI. Break! Emperor Freelio XVI raised his sword, unleashing a tsunami-like surge of sword chi that swept away hundreds, perhaps thousands of units before blasting towards the fortress behind them. This strike, a full-force blow from a level 6 legendary unit, could inflict significant damage on the Citadel of Eternity, potentially crippling part of its functionality if it hit. However, just then, a figure emerged from the void. Without any visible movement, the golden tsunami-like sword chi was all drawn into the twisted space around him, ultimately being absorbed into his body. The Demon King raised his hand. The sword energy he had just absorbed was released from his palm, now infused with the tremendously powerful Dragon Thunder Flame. Boom! Emperor Frehlio managed to block the strike. However, the Emperor was forced to retreat several hundred meters. His expression changed dramatically. Although he had long known the Demon King's strength was unfathomable, he hadn't expected it to be to such an extent. His full-force strike had been absorbed and compressed by the opponent, then enhanced and sent right back at him. The Emperor was able to withstand it only because of his weapon, armor, various accessories, and several pieces of epic-grade equipment he wore, yet he still found himself at a disadvantage. "You've finally shown yourself." Emperor Frehlio 16 was not worried. Everything was going according to plan. He had anticipated that the Demon King would appear to block this strike for the fortress. As long as he could force him out early, it would serve his purpose. At this moment, the other powerhouses of Darkness City, such as Long Yi, Zhongsan, Li Si among the 10 Dragon Kings, as well as Nancilia, Marilyn, and other forest kings like Jin Kuei, were overwhelmed by the Empire and its allies, including Prophet Primo. They were completely tied down and unable to come to the Demon King's aid. Under such circumstances, even if the Demon King's strength was formidable, could he withstand the Emperor, along with 10 supreme warriors? It was impossible. All they needed to do was act swiftly. Before the fog dispersed, if they could eliminate the Demon King and destroy the fortress, then the outcome of the battle would be unequivocally decided. Sanctum of Valor Spirits. Emperor Frehlio 16 activated his special domain, evolved after being enhanced by the spirit of the nation, instantly enveloping the Demon King within it. At the same time, Hero Will, Marquis Gabrielain, and others also unleashed their own domain powers to strengthen Emperor Frehlio XVI's sanctum. In such a situation, even if the Demon King was stronger, he could not mount a counterattack. He was inevitably completely suppressed. Zhang Nu truly felt for the first time that someone could overpower him in terms of domain, in which his own was ineffective under the current conditions. Interesting. After being drawn into the domain, Zhang Nu saw clearly the 11 individuals before him. Emperor Frehlio 16 was in the lead, with the 10 other warriors being the weakest at level 6 Monarch, and the strongest being a level 6 epic unit. Such a lineup was indeed formidable enough to contend with him. Zhang Nu smiled calmly. "It seems you really came prepared." For the first time, Emperor Frehlio 16 clearly saw the true face of the Demon King, the great menace of the Chaos Forest that had inflicted significant losses and disgrace upon the Empire. "We've made thorough preparations to counter you and your forces, who will find themselves without any recourse here," said the Emperor coldly. "You are now isolated, without any chance to turn the tide. You're at the end of your path." Zhang Nu replied, "In my view, such grand claims shouldn't be made too early. They tend to backfire easily." The Emperor burst into laughter. "It appears you know nothing of my power, nor of the strength of the Empire. Today, you shall witness it firsthand. A power that can only be used once in centuries, not something you see every day. Valor ancestors of the past," he called out. "Heed my summons and lend me your strength." As Emperor Frehlio's words fell, powerful presences began to coalesce within the special domain, eventually forming at least 15 spirits. These were vague in form but mighty in presence, each a manifestation of an emperor's will and soul, each exuding an aura close to that of a level 6 monarch. This represented a terrifying force, 15 spectral entities with the might of nearly level 6 monarchs. Although the Demon King's direct combat ability was stronger than the Emperor's, the Emperor could still summon these ancestral spirits to assist him in battle by invoking the power of the Empire spirit. Even without these 10 elite warriors at his side, he was confident he would not lose to the Demon King. He knew that while his power was temporary, it was nearly limitless until the ancestral spirits dissipated, and he was virtually unkillable during this time. How could the Demon King possibly win under these conditions? Moreover, with the support of Supreme Hero Will and the top-tier warriors including the 5 Sword Saints, they held a crushing advantage over the Demon King. "How about now?" Emperor Frehlio sneered. "Do you see the difference between us? If you kneel and surrender now, I might consider giving you a swift end." Zhang Nu shook his head. "Just numerical superiority, nothing more. Isn't it just about getting help? Don't you think I can do the same?" As he spoke, a spatial portal appeared behind him. Emperor Freelio XVI's expression changed dramatically. How is this possible? In my domain, how can you still summon such power? The power Zhang Nu displayed was similar to a domain technique, but it was actually quite different. It was a divine realm. Compared to a regular domain, a divine realm isn't just a simple area of effect, it's an independent space. Zhang Nu also had direct dominion over the laws of time and space, so no one could prevent him from opening a portal to his divine realm. If he wished to escape, it would be impossible for anyone to stop him. However, Zhang Nu didn't open the divine realm to flee. After the abyssal divine realm opened, several figures emerged from it, led by a tall female demon, radiating deadly allure. It was none other than the succubus queen, Han Kursen. Just as Han Kursen stepped out, she commented, "Oh, such formidable domain power, seems like our enemy this time isn't easy to handle." She seemed unfazed by the situation. Following her, 6 Gloom City demon monarchs and countless abyssal dragons who transformed into draconian forms appeared rapidly, their numbers increasing from a few to hundreds, eventually over 1,000. Additionally, numerous Ent joined them, including the Ent King, Grutrut. In no time, Zhang Nu's side was packed, though not as numerous as the Emperor's personal guards, their presence was incomparably stronger. What's going on? Emperor Freelio 16 was stunned. While the hero and Marquis Gabrelain were equally shocked. When did the Demon King have such a force? Why hadn't this army appeared in the prophet's projections? Impossible. 1,000 draconians, all abyssal dragons? How could there be so many abyssal dragons in the world? Moreover, there were thousands of Ents, supposed to be extinct, and a dense mass of high-level demons, from demon monarchs to soldiers, each with formidable power. Zhang Nu smiled and said, "It seems, who the victor will be is still uncertain." The imperial side was thrown into disarray. No one expected the Demon King to have such a terrifying force hidden. This army appeared out of nowhere, never featured in the prophet's forecasts, and the empire had made no preparations against them. Now, the emperor, deep behind enemy lines, found his clever plan turning into a dangerous folly. Given the current situation, the empire held no advantage. The imperial forces included Emperor Freelio 16, 10 top fighters, and the emperor's personal guards. The Demon King's forces consisted of the Demon King himself, Han Kursen and her demonic army from Gloom City, and the Dragon and Ent legions. In terms of numbers, the imperial forces had a slight edge. However, when comparing the quality of the troops, the two sides were not even in the same league. Emperor Freelio 16 had planned to launch a surprise attack on the Magitech fortress, aiming to destroy it and either kill or severely injure the Demon King. Achieving either of these objectives would have given the Empire a decisive victory in this battle. However, from what could be seen, it was almost impossible for the Empire to win. Emperor Freelio 16 had underestimated the Demon King's formidable power, but he could not comprehend why the future obtained by Prophet Primo using time magic had such a significant discrepancy. For a moment, the Emperor considered several possibilities. Was there an error in the Prophet's predictions, or had the Prophet tampered with something, or was there some other unknown variable at play? This is impossible. Hero will exclaimed in disbelief. Primo's predictions are never wrong. Where did you all come from? Zhang Nu remained silent, yet a burgeoning power surged from his body like raging waves and storm winds, sweeping across all directions and enveloping everyone present. Will felt the immense strength of this force, which simultaneously fused formidable elements of time and space. The field was still dominated by Emperor Freelio's Sanctum of Valor spirits, and the Emperor had certainly locked down all categories of magical laws. Logically, magic should not have been possible in such an environment. The fact that Zhang Nu could use spells and unleash such powerful forces suggested only one possibility: he did not rely on external laws, he had mastered the principles of the power of law himself. Such formidable temporal and spatial powers. This seemed to clarify matters. Prophet Primo possessed powerful temporal abilities, and so did the Demon King, whose powers of time were even stronger than Primo's. If so, just as Primo could use time magic to foresee the future, why couldn't the Demon King use time magic to disrupt it? From the beginning, the Demon King might have been aware of Prophet Primo's troublesome abilities, thus he secretly assembled and hid such a formidable force, then used special means to erase any trace of their appearance. This explained why Primo could not foresee these changes. If Primo had a fuller understanding of the Demon King's strength, perhaps he would have been more cautious and careful. However, the Demon King had always been shrouded in mystery. No one knew the extent of the Demon King's power, nor how many abilities he possessed. Under such circumstances, nasty surprises were unpreventable, which was why they found themselves in this predicament now. Retreat. Emperor Freelio XVI decisively chose to withdraw. He knew that his side's chances of winning were not great if the fight continued, but if they could retreat back to the imperial capital, relying on the geographical advantage and various preparations made earlier, they could at least ensure a mutually destructive outcome. You've already come all this way. Let's not leave just yet. Han Kursen spoke up. She unleashed her domain power, and at the same time, Gertrude and the demon monarchs from Gloom City also activated their domains. Among these demon monarchs, Han Xiuyue and Han Dongxue were both level 6 monarchs. The powerful domain forces from both sides clashed, ultimately causing the entire space to become chaotic. Freelio's domain quickly shrank, compressed to less than 100 meters. Your Majesty, we can't retreat. We have no choice but to fight to the death. Will remained quite composed. He said to Emperor Freelio, the biggest threat among these folks is the Demon King. With your Majesty's current strength and the power of the Valor Spirits, there is still a chance to win. Hearing this, Emperor Freelio also recognized their current situation. If they chose to retreat blindly at this moment, it could lead them into an even more perilous state. Fortune favors the brave. The only option now was to fight head-on, as Hero will said. Although the Demon King's strength was unfathomably deep, the Emperor had the home field advantage, inexhaustible power, and an almost immortal body. Under these circumstances, with the aid of 15 ancestral spirits, if he could face the Demon King in a duel, there was still a chance to kill him. Emperor Freelio XVI immediately commanded, distract the Demon King's minions and create an opportunity for me. Yes. Will and the others swiftly acknowledged the command. As heroes, they understood that the death of the Demon King would instantly lead to the collapse of his entire army, presenting the only viable opportunity. Will roared in a voice that was more beast than man. His cloak burst apart as his body expanded tenfold, his fur turning a golden color, interwoven with dazzling lightning. The demigod of the wolves, Will? Unexpectedly, this hero turns out to be the renowned Leaken god Will. Since Will had always been at Primo's side, much like his previous assistant Jason, no one had seen his true face or witnessed him acting on behalf of the Empire, so his identity remained unknown. Once Will revealed his true form, Emperor Freelio XVI, Marquis Gaberlain, and the Sunset Five-Sword Saints, who were quite knowledgeable, immediately recognized him. Leaken god Will was an extraordinary figure among the werewolves, said to possess the bloodline of an ancient Leaken god, which endowed him with unique abilities, talents, and potential. He was believed to have lived for over 800 years. Who would have thought that such a powerful figure would turn out to be a hero? However, the revelation of Will's identity boosted the morale of the Imperial side. Leaken god Will was a level 6 mythic, but he was no ordinary mythic. He had several experiences of defeating peers, making him significantly stronger than most of his rank. With such a figure on their side, the Empire's chances of victory naturally increased. Kill. Leaken god Will transformed into a golden afterimage, bursting forth at speeds tens of times the speed of sound and instantly split into hundreds of mirages, rapidly attacking the Demon King's forces. Several dragons were caught off guard and torn apart in midair by the hundreds of wolf mirages. Hundreds of golden werewolves quickly advanced towards the Demon King's troops. The Demon King, clearly seen through the Empire's tactics, said dismissively, "This guy is yours to handle, can you manage?" "Leave it to me." Han Kursen responded, and with a thought and a low shout, commanded, "Come forth." The next second, accompanied by a loud phoenix cry, a huge golden phoenix soared into the sky. Zhang Nu looked on in surprise, as this phoenix possessed at least the strength of a level 6 monarch, and was even nearing the mythic class. He remembered that it hadn't been long since he had given Han Kursen the phoenix egg. How had she managed to grow the phoenix to such a size? It seemed likely that the phoenix egg inherently contained significant residual power, and Han Kursen had further accelerated the phoenix's growth by purchasing materials from the Demon King's market. The golden fire phoenix then returned to Han Kursen, who merged with her pet beast. The succubus wings transformed into a pair of larger and more splendid phoenix wings, while her body was covered with armor made of phoenix divine fire. It should be noted that the succubus queen already possessed the strength of a level 6 mythic. Now, merged with the power of the phoenix, not only did she gain tremendous self-healing and regenerative abilities, but her strength was also significantly enhanced, making her even stronger than usual. The next second, Han Kursen instantly teleported in front of Will. With a flap of her wings, countless flames, like lasers, scattered across the sky, attacking the numerous mirages that quickly congregated back into one place. Roaring, Will burst out with a roar and lunged at Han Kursen, who was mid-air. Han Kursen countered with a giant claw condensed from Phoenix Divine Fire. The two exchanged blows back and forth, each holding their own, making it hard to determine the superior fighter. At this time, the Demon King's forces were also clashing with the Imperial troops, and the Emperor himself faced off directly against the Demon King, creating a tumultuous disturbance that prevented other units, regardless of their allegiance, from getting close. After several exchanges with Han Kursen, Will, who excelled in close combat, gained a slight advantage, inflicting considerable damage on Han Kursen. However, having merged with the Undying Phoenix, her wounds instantly healed. "You are not just any ordinary ranked Demon Kings," Will said gravely. "If I'm not mistaken, this Darkness City Demon King is Zhang Nu, the #1 on the Demon King leaderboard." "It seems you do have some insight," Han Kursen, flapping her huge phoenix wings, responded. "Now that you know his identity, surely you don't think that an emperor, who relies on external powers, can defeat our faction's top Demon King." Hearing this, Will's expression turned grim. How could the #1 of the Demon King's faction be easy to handle? Although Emperor Frehlio was strong, it was still debatable whether he could win. "It seems I must quickly deal with this woman and then assist the Emperor in killing the Demon King or stall for time until Primo joins the battle." Han Kursen sensed the murderous intent rising in Will. She laughed. "I might not be as strong as him, but I'm certainly not no fodder, and more than enough to deal with you. Know your place." Will, convinced of his superior strength from their brief encounter, was about to unleash his full power to take down Han Kursen. However, at that moment, he suddenly found himself unable to move. What's going on? Will then noticed that numerous fine threads, which connected to his spirit and soul, had immobilized him. "I've never been one for head-on battles," Han Kursen said coldly. "While you were distracted just now, I had already set up and prepared. It's too late for you now, you no longer stand a chance." Zhang Nu and Emperor Frehlio exchanged blows for dozens of rounds. What seemed like a long fight was actually just a blink of an eye. The Emperor could clearly feel that the Demon King held an absolute advantage in sheer power. Even though both were at the level of a level 6 legendary, the Demon King had continually enhanced his stats and mastered various new skills after reaching level 6 legendary status, even absorbing the crystals of several top heroes. The disparity in their raw strength was significant. In every aspect, the Demon King was an extremely terrifying entity, but the Emperor also had his own advantages. First, he was fighting on home turf. He could continuously draw power from the Temple and Hall of Valor, thus obtaining an almost inexhaustible supply of HP and MP recovery. Additionally, Emperor Frehlio was equipped from head to toe, inside and out, with epic gear. Even a mere fodder, if clad in such top-tier equipment, could exhibit considerable combat effectiveness, let alone the current Emperor Frehlio. He could also summon the spirits of past emperors. These spirits were indestructible. As long as Emperor Frehlio was alive and the Empire's temples remained intact, they could revive indefinitely, each possessing the strength of a level 6 monarch. Thus, the actual gap between the two sides seemed not so vast. Emperor Frehlio XVI believed that with his current capabilities, even when facing the Great Demon King, he was fully capable of holding his own. However, before Emperor Frehlio could contemplate further, Zhang Nu launched an attack. He instantly gathered a mind chi and unleashed a fierce mental attack, stabbing a psychic sword directly into Frehlio's psyche. -5,000. This was a master technique of the Inner Eye Sword School of the Sunset Empire. Frehlio suffered significant damage and was also afflicted with severe psychic trauma, which theoretically should have left him dazed or weakened. However, a necklace around Frehlio's neck flashed with light. All his abnormal mental conditions were removed, and simultaneously, his health rapidly restored to its peak state in the blink of an eye. "Ha ha ha. It's impossible to defeat me in this state with your methods." Emperor Frehlio XVI was full of confidence. "Now, I am bolstered by the fortune of the entire empire, gathering the national spirit of the entire empire. What are you compared to that, thinking you can contend with me?" As he spoke, the various rings on Frehlio's hands each released different energies. Layer upon layer of powerful enhancements and strengths continually enveloped him, substantially increasing his already formidable aura by nearly double. Indeed, he was difficult to handle. Zhang Nu noted that Freelio's equipment was far more extensive than expected. In addition to his highly defensive golden armor and extremely powerful crystal sword, Freelio's cape, shoes, rings, necklace, bracelets, and even his helmet were all enveloped with potent auras. That was to say, Emperor Freelio was adorned from head to toe. He wore dozens of pieces of gear, each of epic quality. Any one of these items was not inferior to Zhang Nu's Heart of Space in terms of quality, and the power and effects they could unleash were astonishing. These items encompassed defense, attack, support, healing, and control. With the Emperor naturally bolstered by the Empire's spirit, any damage or physical harm he received could rapidly heal, unless he could be killed in one blow. Otherwise, this man was nearly immortal. But how could a level 6 legendary being, so terrifyingly powerful, possibly be killed in a single attack? No matter how one looks at it, it seems like a fairy tale. I want to see what tricks you still have left. Emperor Freelio roared furiously, and his 15 spirit avatars charged simultaneously, swiftly surrounding Zhang Nu. Fiery Heaven. Zhang Nu activated an S-tier skill. A fierce explosion of fire instantly blew away the 15 nearby spirits. However, the spirits were immortal. Despite being severely damaged and blown apart, they would soon recover. Zhang Nu teleported in front of Emperor Freelio, using a sword technique to condense a blade of thunder and flame, indestructible and further bolstered with mind chi. He swung it, creating a dense flurry of sword light. It's useless. You can't kill me. Emperor Freelio calmly released a defensive shield to block the attacks. As the attacks landed from all directions, he felt no threat or pressure. Such a feeble attack trying to kill him, the Emperor? Has the Demon King run out of tricks? But just as the Emperor was about to activate the effects of his epic gear, he was shocked to discover that his armor and various epic gears were unresponsive. What's going on? What have you done? Emperor Freelio then realized that each of Zhang Nu's sword strikes, though they did not break his defenses, released a subtle blood-red aura. This aura was not just any aura, but the corrupted blood emitted by the fragment of the evil god known as the source of corruption. The effect of the corrupted was extremely powerful, and when a sufficient dose was accumulated, it could corrupt anything in the world. The barrage of attacks from Zhang Nu was actually a feint. During this process, a large amount of corrupted blood had coated the Emperor's entire figure. While it had not yet penetrated the Emperor's body, the epic gear enveloping him had been contaminated. Their functions ceased, rendering them as useless as mere iron. Damn it! Emperor Freelio realized the danger and quickly moved out of the Demon King's attack range. He tried to cleanse the corrupted blood from his gear using his chi and magic, but the contamination from the evil god proved difficult to remove with conventional means. This left Emperor Freelio without his usual defenses. Zhang Nu seized the opportunity for an attack and wasted no time. The vertical eye on his forehead opened, unleashing the powers of the Eye of Death, the Eye of Dominion, and the Eye of Regeneration, all strong forces of an evil god manifested simultaneously. Death Sacrifice. Zhang Nu activated Death Sacrifice, converting all his HP into power. Normally, using such power would be nearly suicidal, but Zhang Nu, with his internal undying phoenix fire and the S-tier skill, Rebirth from within the flames, could restore himself to full condition. He continued to use Death Sacrifice and Rebirth from within the flames repeatedly. By leveraging the power of the Eye of Regeneration and the abundant phoenix fire, he repeatedly sacrificed his HP. After several cycles, the power Zhang Nu had accumulated was unimaginably immense. He concentrated all this immense power and energy into the vertical eye on his forehead, preparing for the attack. This next strike, amplified by at least 5 rounds of Death Sacrifice, was so potent that not only peers of the same level but even beings a rank higher or even a complete evil god might struggle to withstand it. Although the attack had not yet struck, Emperor Freelio already sensed the danger. He instinctively wanted to flee, but was immobilized by an overwhelmingly powerful psychic force that almost blotted out the sky, pinning him in place. Shit! Emperor Freelio XVI's face turned pale with horror. Zhang Nu had neutralized the Emperor's equipment with corrupted blood, repeatedly amplified the power of his Death Sacrifice using the Eye of Regeneration, and then used the Eye of Dominion to control Emperor Freelio 16. Finally, he activated the Eye of Death. Zhang Nu unleashed a death gaze. Emperor Freelio's armor shattered instantly, and in terror, he shouted, "I am willing to negotiate." Stop. Negotiate? It was too late. The Demon King had no need to negotiate with a defeated foe. Emperor Frehlio was overwhelmed by the devastating power of the evil god, which was after all Xiongnu's strongest single-target attack skill, especially after it had been boosted by so many rounds of HP sacrifice as the cost. Minus 999,999. Emperor Frehlio's HP pool was wiped out. Even in his wildest dreams, the emperor could not have imagined that after receiving the blessings of the empire's fortune and the spirits of past emperors, he could still be killed, and the adversary had only launched one attack. No. In his screams, the emperor's body irreversibly disintegrated. This famous, ambitious emperor of the empire cracked and ultimately turned to ashes, with no one able to stop this process. You have slain the Thunder Empire Emperor, gold plus 17? The Thunder Emperor was dead. He died so swiftly, so decisively, without even a chance to resist. Remember, he was a level 6 legendary being at the time. What does level 6 legendary represent? It's the standard of an emperor level strength. The process of Xiongnu defeating Emperor Frehlio wasn't complex. He could say he hardly exerted any effort in dealing with this adversary, and he resolved the biggest enemy and threat to the Chaos Federation. With the Emperor's fall, the fate of the entire empire was approaching its end. The Great Thunder Empire, from this moment, began to collapse officially. This place would soon become the first empire-level power to be conquered by the Demon King. As Xiongnu finished off Emperor Frehlio, the battle involving Han Kursen was also nearing its end. Leaken Godwill was a formidable figure, and if it were just about brute strength, even Han Kursen, fused with the Phoenix, was no match for him. However, Han Kursen's abilities in controlling psychic and soul proved to be the perfect counter to this type of opponent. When the straightforward, brawny will faced the adept manipulator Han Kursen, his impressive speed, strength, and ability to fight with duplicates couldn't be fully utilized. After a struggle, Will died frustratingly at Han Kursen's hands. This was the first time Han Kursen had killed an adversary so high in level and ranking, providing her with invaluable experience. With the Emperor and the hero, Will, gone, the main combat forces of the Empire had fallen. What impact could the remaining Imperial elites and the Five Sword Saints hope to make? In a state close to despair, Marquis Gaberlain and the Five Sword Saints, under the control of Han Kursen and the Ent King Gertrude, were quickly annihilated by several powerful arcane incarnations summoned by the Great Demon King. As for the elite troops led by the Emperor, though they were a highly trained unit, they stood no chance against hundreds of level 5 and above demons, thousands of abyssal dragons, and thousands of high-level Ents. It was nearly a clean sweep. Everything unfolded nearly as you planned, Han Kursen remarked as she approached Xiongnu. This battle has turned out to be far less challenging than anticipated, and it seems the capital will fall much easier than we thought. Han Kursen could hardly believe it even now that the Emperor had simply perished so suddenly. Indeed, if Emperor Frehlio XVI had opted for caution, he could have remained safely within the capital. Supported by the Empire's multitude of powerhouses and the capital's defenses and heritage, accumulated over thousands of years, it would have been exceedingly difficult for the Demon King to breach it swiftly. However, Emperor Frehlio did not choose the safer route. Driven to annihilate the Demon King's forces and decisively break their power, he ventured to the front lines himself. Tragically, this aggressive move backfired, leading to his downfall. Xiongnu cautioned, "We mustn't let our guard down yet. The Imperial Army remains a formidable force, particularly with several hidden powerhouses among them. The capital is a massive city with a population ranging from 10 to 20 million. Even though Xiongnu's forces numbered around 1 million, controlling the capital without causing major upheaval would present a significant challenge, especially since the main body of the Imperial Army was still intact. Especially noteworthy was a hero ranked in the top 50 Prophet of Doom, Primo. Xiongnu sensed that Primo was not merely a level 7 mythic with innate time magic capabilities. His right eye, which harbored a fragment of an evil god, significantly amplified his temporal abilities. This fragment was crucial. It was linked to the 3 fragments in Xiongnu's possession, originating from the 8-eyed evil god. Specifically, it was one of the eyes, wielding and embodying the power of time, one of the most revered powers among the 8-eyed evil god's diverse abilities. This eye of the evil god could potentially be the most powerful and valuable fragment of the 8-eyed evil god, and the most challenging to contend with. After ascending to level 7, Prophet Primo likely awakened a portion of his godhood. This awakening enabled him to suppress the eye's influence, preventing irreversible deformations and mutations to his body, though undoubtedly, Primo had not fully unleashed the eye's power. Such an opponent could not be taken lightly, even by Zhang Nu. While Zhang Nu could sense the fragment of the evil god within Primo, Primo could also detect the fragments within Zhang Nu. However, the lingering effects of the magical fog meant that even Primo could not discern the specifics of the ongoing battle. At that moment, Primo had a foreboding premonition. For someone of his caliber, proficient in time magic, such premonitions typically carried predictive power. He had never before experienced such an ominous feeling, which almost certainly indicated that something significant was occurring. Just then, the fog was pierced. Hundreds of energy swords, condensed from thunder and flame, shot towards him. These swords filled the space around Primo almost instantaneously. What? Primo's expression changed dramatically. As a level 7 mage, he could acutely feel the terrifying and immense power concentrated within these thunder flame swords. Damn it! What happened to Freelio? In frustration, Primo swept his staff through the air, unleashing a surge of temporal energy that dramatically slowed the lightning-fast velocity of the energy swords. Following this, several S-rank spells erupted from Primo. Waves of energy, the antithesis of thunder and flame, met the incoming swords, instantly neutralizing this formidable force. Has Freelio failed? Primo wasn't just a mighty prophet with the power of foresight, he was also an unfathomable level 7 mage. With the fog that had been blocking his senses now largely dissipated, Primo was shocked to find that the auras of Freelio and Will had eerily vanished. Something was amiss. Primo realized that the situation might have taken a turn beyond his foresight. Just as he was about to initiate a teleportation spell to escape the area, a powerful force field descended upon him while he was still dealing with the thunderflame swords, sealing the surrounding space and time. A commanding figure appeared before him. Primo spoke gravely, "It's you. Demon King." Although the two had never met, they could sense each other's formidable presence. Primo even recognized several familiar evil god auras emanating from Zhang Nu. Who else could it be but the Demon King? As Zhang Nu unleashed the formidable power of space-time laws, he spoke calmly and leisurely, "Your eye is quite remarkable, but I believe I need it more than you do, so hand it over." In the next instant, his space-time abilities transformed into a turbulent maelstrom. The space within a few thousand meters radius around Primo violently distorted, resembling an abstract painting. Primo's expression darkened. He had anticipated the Demon King's space-time capabilities to be strong, but not to this extent. Time freeze. Primo immediately cast a powerful spell. Instantly, the space around him seemed to hit pause, halting everything in motion and turning the entire battlefield into a static backdrop. Zhang Nu was also affected by this force, but he countered by releasing his own time powers, which neutralized Primo's efforts. The two were locked in a standoff for several minutes. Although there appeared to be no change, the battle was intensely fierce. Primo said solemnly, "Your mastery of time is indeed greater than mine. Without this eye of time, I indeed could not win against you. But in the presence of this eye, you two have no chance of defeating me." During the conversation, Primo's silver right eye unleashed power magnified tenfold, significantly boosting his time magic by dozens or even hundreds of times. This sudden surge allowed him to gain a clear advantage in the clash of time powers against Zhang Nu. From the outside, it seemed that Primo's burst of power was overwhelming. The Demon King seemed destined to be subdued by the force of time, which would likely decide the outcome of their battle. However, to Primo's surprise, although he momentarily surpassed his opponent with his burst of time power, Zhang Nu, bathing in the torrent of time, remained unaffected and kept his normal state. "What's going on?" asked Primo with a grim expression. Zhang Nu smiled and replied, "I am the Void Overlord, able to easily resist the forces of space and time. Your power cannot affect me." It was known that Zhang Nu inherently possessed high resistance to spacetime. If he activated his time dragon form, he could navigate through any distorted or chaotic spacetime. Ever since activating the Void Overlord talent, Zhang Nu had been able to easily counter abnormal spacetime effects, even those generated by the power of the evil god's eye, making it exceedingly difficult for Primo to truly impact him. "Playing with time in front of me?" Zhang Nu taunted with a sneer as he began to gather his power. Despite being shocked that Zhang Nu could ignore the abnormal changes in spacetime, Primo was still confident in his ability to at least protect himself with such power, if not defeat the Demon King. However, at that moment, Zhang Nu made his move. He fully unleashed the power of the Eye of Domination, forming a powerful psychic sword chi that slashed down with unexpected speed. "What, a psychic attack?" Primo's face showed utter horror. He feared no form of physical attack, whether it be elemental forces like wind, fire, water, earth, or even light, dark, and thunder, as all such attacks would be influenced by the flow of time around him. But psychic attacks were different. They had no trajectory to follow and were almost instantaneous, striking Primo directly. Blood streamed from Primo's every orifice. Before he could even plead, another round of the Demon King's assault descended upon him. After a dozen rounds, the Demon King thoroughly overpowered the hero. In a final, despairing gaze, Primo was struck by a breath infused with corrupted blood, rendering him momentarily silent. In the next instance, bolts of hellish lightning struck, decisively ending the battle. You've slain a level 7 hero, skill stone +8, mythic crystal +1, hero leaderboard chest +1. As the fog cleared, everyone realized that the situation had spiraled completely out of control. The Emperor was dead, as were the heroes Primo and Will. Over a dozen beings, each at least a level 6 monarch, had been utterly defeated by the Demon King in one fell swoop. It's over. All is lost. The Empire is on the brink of collapse. We can no longer stand against the Demon King. At the moment of Prophet Primo's death, a powerful energy burst from his body. A silver light shot forth, none other than Primo's Eye of the Evil God. The eye, seemingly reactivated, attempted to escape amidst the chaos as Primo fell. Each fragment of an evil god could awaken its own consciousness, and this eye, sensing the overwhelming power of the Demon King and realizing it could not reclaim the 3 fragments from him, chose to flee to preserve itself. Escaping? Zhang Nu scoffed coldly. With a gesture, he extended his hand, and his domain power immediately enveloped the area, trapping the Eye of the Evil God in midair with the forces of time and space. Despite the eye's formidable power, equivalent to a level 6 or 7 monarch on its own, such strength posed no threat to Zhang Nu. After trapping the Eye of the Evil God, Zhang Nu immediately unleashed a death gaze upon it. The silver eye was instantly covered in dense cracks that quickly spread. With a loud bang, the eye shattered into pieces. However, its divine nature of immortality manifested, and the shattered fragments were formed into the shape of an eyeball, albeit now inactive, resembling a silver crystal. Zhang Nu grasped it in his hand. Eye of Time, a fragment of the ancient 8-eyed evil god, with each eye embodying a distinct power of the evil god, this one representing time. As expected, this eye was indeed one of the fragments of the 8-eyed evil god. Without hesitation, Zhang Nu absorbed the fragment. Evil God fragment assimilation success. Maximum MP +8,000. You've gained a new talent, Eye of Time. Your Eye of Time has resonated with Eye of Death, Eye of Domination, and Eye of Regeneration, all 4 eyes of Evil God's strength +50%, Evil God's power +100%, maximum HP +12,000, maximum MP +12,000, all stats +500. This 4th eye fusion, due to their shared origin, caused all the evil god eyes to resonate, further enhancing their powers and significantly boosting Zhang Nu's attributes, markedly elevating the Demon King's strength once more. With his current power level, even among level 6 legendaries, Zhang Nu stood as one of the absolute strongest. After his breakthrough to level 6, not only had he absorbed the power of multiple heroes and activated the level 6 talent Void Overlord, but he also possessed talents from half of the 8-eyed evil god, making his innate power unmatched. In this condition, he was invincible among his peers, even against other legendary beings. Upon opening the treasure chest obtained from the slain Prophet of Doom, Primo, Zhang Nu was astounded. Previously, the strongest heroes he had faced were only ranked around the top 500, such as Satoru Sato and Jason. However, Primo was ranked within the top 50. You've opened a hero treasure chest. You've gained Prophet of Doom Crystal X1, Level 7 Souls X150, 13 Elemental Gems X120, 000 each. Upon seeing the rewards, Zhang Nu was taken aback. Primo, being a level 7 mythic entity, naturally dropped a level 7 hero soul. Unexpectedly, aside from Primo's own soul, the hero leaderboard chest also yielded an astonishing 150 level 7 souls. Level 7 souls are incredibly rare and highly sought after. Not many in the realm of the Demon King could claim access to such high-quality souls. The quality of these souls transcends mere offerings, making this find exceptionally remarkable. As for the Prophet of Doom crystal? It is a crystal infused with the power of a hero. Zhang Nu used it immediately without hesitation. You have absorbed the Prophet of Doom crystal, HP plus 8,000, MP plus 20,000, Agility plus 500, Strength plus 800, Constitution plus 500, Will plus 3,000. You've gained a SS rank Prophet's Legacy. Compared to previous crystals he had absorbed, the power from Primo's crystal was significantly stronger. Zhang Nu not only gained a huge boost in stats, but was also pleasantly surprised to acquire Primo's main magical skills through the SS rank Prophet's Legacy. This included several S-rank skills, dozens of A-rank skills, and hundreds of B-rank or lower skills. Given Zhang Nu's current MP pool and magical capabilities, even if he were to rely solely on magical attacks in combat, there would be few in the world capable of standing against him. After the deaths of the Emperor and the Prophet of Doom, the battle's outcome was no longer in doubt. The Demon King's army, unstoppable and supported by a succession of powerhouses from the Chaos Federation, effortlessly overwhelmed the Eclipse Knights of the Sunset Empire under the fury of the Abyssal Dragon Legion. Despite the vast scale of the war, despite persistent resistance from some Imperial hardliners, and despite numerous unexpected events during the battle, the outcome was inevitable. With the Citadel of Eternity's overwhelming firepower and the combined efforts of the Dragon and Ent legions, the Imperial defenses finally collapsed after 2 days and nights of fighting. The Demon King's forces officially took control of the capital, securing every district and beginning the work of offering clemency and managing post-war efforts. Gaining the allegiance of the capital's populace was no easy task due to their deep-seated sense of imperial honor and belonging. Long-term imperial propaganda had instilled a strongly negative view of the Chaos Federation, leading to significant resistance. Ultimately, Han Kursen stepped forward. Using her power of permanent charm, she took control of the Empire's highly revered chief priest. His prominent status in the capital meant that when he called on the people to cease their resistance and embrace the new era, it attracted widespread attention and significantly shifted public sentiment. More and more citizens had chosen to surrender to His Majesty the Demon King. Once a significant number of citizens had defected, a notification prompted the Demon King. You've conquered the Thunder Imperial City, and received Shining Lunar Diamond Chest X1. Zhang Nu received the notification and could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The message signified the successful conclusion of the campaign, with the Demon King's forces firmly in control of the imperial capital. In the center of the continent, there was a vast region known as the Plains of Holy Light. These plains were not under the jurisdiction of any national power. However, the entities that resided here were as formidable as those of an imperial power, and in terms of influence, they even surpassed many imperial powers. The reason was simple. The headquarters of the Radiant Church was located on the Plains of Holy Light. The Radiant Church was the largest known church in the world, with influence spanning over 100 regions and nearly 10 billion followers. Though it had not established a nation, it profoundly impacted the world. At the heart of the plains was a place known as the City of Holy Light. The City of Holy Light was the central hub of the Radiant Church and one of the most mysterious and unfathomable places in the world. For any devout follower of the Radiant Church, the greatest lifetime achievement was to make a pilgrimage to this holy city. At that moment, in a majestic underground temple in the city, the space was filled with a nearly tangible energy of light elements, illuminating every corner so brightly that even without a single candle lit, the space was brighter than daylight, as if enveloped under a giant invisible lamp. A simply dressed elder, appearing unremarkable and around 70 years old, was sitting cross-legged at the center of the temple. In front of him stood a massive statue, resembling thousands of serpents, coiling around a giant transparent crystal. At that moment, this crystal was gathering and containing a tremendous, terrifying energy. This crystal was no ordinary crystal. It was the heart of Holy Light, the most sacred relic of the Radiant Church. The power accumulated inside the heart of Holy Light was the collective faith transmitted by the prayers and sacrifices of billions, perhaps even more, of the Church's followers. Over thousands of years, the strength of this power had grown beyond mortal comprehension. It was the Radiant Church's strongest trump card, and in the face of this force, any known mighty being on this world would seem insignificant. Lucas Crest, the former pope of the Radiant Church, was meditating in front of the heart of Holy Light. Although Lucas had stepped down from his role as pope, he still wielded significant influence within the Radiant Church. After all, even the current pope was merely one of his disciples. Teacher. At that moment, a melodious yet solemn voice was heard. Accompanied by a swath of light, a graceful figure in white appeared behind Lucas. This was a woman whose age was difficult to discern, her figure and skin were indistinguishable from that of a young girl, yet her demeanor was profoundly dignified and majestic. She was dressed in a golden papal robe and held the staff of radiance. Her attire and the legendary item in her hand clearly indicated her identity. Saint Dolores, the current pope of the Radiant Church. Dolores's mentor was Lucas, the former pope, standing before her. Although Dolores had assumed the papacy 5 years ago, she had not fully taken over all the church's duties and often consulted her legendary predecessor on various matters. Lucas Crest slowly opened his eyes. "Your Holiness visiting personally suggests something significant has occurred." "Speak," he said. Saint Dolores responded calmly, "The capital of the Thunder Empire has been breached. From the information we've gathered, it was not another nation but a powerful demon king who has captured the city." "A demon king?" Lucas's face showed a rare ripple of surprise and concern. "An empire has fallen to the expansion of a demon king so quickly? It appears the growth and danger posed by this demon king are much greater than I had anticipated." Saint Dolores added, "One of our bishops also fell previously in battle against this demon king. Now that he is about to conquer an empire, his power will grow unprecedentedly strong, potentially disrupting the global balance of power fundamentally." Lucas stated calmly, "Understood. I shall personally intervene to gauge the true extent of this demon king's power. You have only recently assumed the papacy, and your immediate priority should be to establish your authority. The ability of this demon king to directly seize an imperial capital city underlines the severity of the threat. All forces across the continent will surely feel endangered." "Are you suggesting I confront this demon king myself?" asked Dolores. "No," Lucas replied, "this demon king is not as easily handled as you might think. I must take action myself. Your role will be to support me." Dolores always felt that her teacher had changed significantly in recent times. Unbeknownst to her, her mentor, the legendary Pope Lucas, had actually become a hero ranked 7th on the Heroes leaderboard. Each of the top 10 on this leaderboard possessed at least level 7 legendary strength, with relatively narrow gaps between them. Lucas was undoubtedly among the apex of this era's power hierarchy. Such was the reason why ordinary demon kings rarely caught his attention. However, this particular demon king had become too prominent. His existence threatened not only Lucas, but the balance of the entire continent. As the ultimate power behind the Radiant Church, such a threat was intolerable and had to be eliminated. Meanwhile, in the capital of the Thunder Empire, after a brief period of turmoil and chaos, the city eventually settled down smoothly. The Demon King and his allied legions successfully took control of the area. Though they had successfully captured the capital, signaling the empire's irreversible decline, Xiongnu remained vigilant. So far, the Chaos Federation had only secured the southern territories and the capital. Xiongnu was aware that the empire still had intact forces in the north, and despite the deaths of the Guardian Dukes protecting the east and west, these regions still retained considerable strength. Additionally, the empire maintained millions of troops and numerous military fortresses across various locations. For a demon king, the sheer size of an empire-level power was immense. Even someone as powerful as Xiongnu would struggle to digest such a massive piece of meat quickly, potentially leading to internal strife and consumption issues. Xiongnu's plan was straightforward. While strengthening his control over the capital and the southern territories, he also intended to find a suitable and prestigious figure to support as the new emperor of the empire. However, this new emperor would need to remain under the control of the great demon king. This approach would stabilize the situation as quickly as possible. Xiongnu opened the conquest chest. "You've opened the lunar diamond chest. You've gained gold x 10 billion, blueprint, Supreme Imperial Treasury x1, blueprint, Supreme Imperial Barracks x1, level 5 special building upgrade scroll x10, and 13 elemental gems x500, 000 each." This chest was obtained from capturing the capital. The sheer amount of gold alone was an astonishing 10 billion, and the 2 blueprints received were also extremely rare level 6 special building designs. The rewards also included level 5 special building upgrade scrolls and a significant amount of gems. However, Xiongnu knew that while the number seemed large, they were far from the total gain from this conquest. The city beneath his feet was the heart and brain of the empire, having accumulated thousands of years of imperial heritage. Whether it was the imperial palace treasury or the nobles' wealth in the capital, there was an immense fortune to be had. If plundered thoroughly, wouldn't the Dragon Legion's resources reach the skies? Xiongnu was well aware that with his successful campaign against the empire, his identity and power could no longer be concealed. He must swiftly enhance his strength and influence to secure a powerful means of self-protection. The northern border of the Thunder Empire was characterized by its snowy mountains and high plateaus. The snow here never melted, even after tens of thousands of years, making it appear inhospitable and scarcely populated at first glance. However, the reality was different. The Northern Territory was rich in natural resources, especially gold, crystals, and gems. These resources alone made the northern border just as prosperous as the other three territories. Moreover, the Duke of the North held an advantage that the other ducal territories did not. The current Duke of the North, known as the Ice Queen, Ophelia Freilio, shared the same lineage with the Emperor. Both were Freilios, not coincidentally. Historically, the Northern Freilio family and the Imperial Freilio family were one and the same thousands of years ago, but split apart. Today, the northern branch was effectively a cadet branch of the royal family, with Emperor Freilio essentially being Duke Ophelia's kinsman. This relationship and shared heritage made the northern family the most stable and esteemed among the four ducal families and the most powerful in the empire. How powerful was the north? To put it in perspective, the combined strength of the south, east, and west, each led by a guardian grand duke, was required to barely match the north. With only 2 guardian dukes, they would not have been enough to challenge the north. This was the strength of the north. Duke Ophelia's talents were comparable to those of Emperor Freilio XVI, possessing the strength of a level 6 monarch. The dukes of the other territories simply could not match her. Thus, Duke Ophelia held a very high position within the empire, and her nickname, Ice Queen, was well earned. In the north, she commanded as much authority as a king, and even the emperor himself would have found it difficult to intervene in northern affairs. Duke. It's bad. We have verified the news. The imperial capital has indeed been attacked by the Demon King's forces and has fallen. The status of Emperor Freilio and the others is unknown, but judging from the information coming through various channels, the prospects seem grim. In the Great Hall of the Duke of the North, 6 marquises, 30 counts, and hundreds of lower nobility such as viscounts and barons, along with numerous northern government officials, had all gathered. Anxiety and heaviness marked every face present. Regarding the Demon King, those assembled were not unfamiliar. The territories of these feudal lords had not been free of the Demon King's presence. However, it was unimaginable that in the distant southern territories of the empire, a Demon King could grow strong enough to conquer the entire south and even the great imperial capital. It was too incredible to believe. Everyone was unable to accept this reality. The atmosphere in the room immediately turned deathly silent. Duke Ophelia broke the silence, her voice cold. With both the imperial capital and the south fallen, the situation in the empire is as precarious as a pile of eggs. What do you suggest we do next? The nobles looked at each other, unsure. At that moment, a commanding general stood up and said, "My lady, I suggest we immediately establish communication with the nobles and armies of the central and northeastern regions of the empire to form a large force capable of resisting the Demon King." This suggestion was immediately met with opposition. An elderly marquis with white hair stood up. "It's impractical." Impractical. Even if we disregard the Duke Bachelor of the South's outcome, as far as I know, His Majesty did not underestimate the enemy. He sought reinforcements from all quarters and even invoked the power of the Hall of Valor. Despite these efforts, they still suffered a devastating defeat. The situation is essentially decided. The general retorted angrily, "Are we to betray the empire and submit to a Demon King?" Just then, another voice chimed in. "I also think that mobilizing troops rashly is too reckless." A middle-aged nobleman stepped forward. He was somewhat portly and unassuming in appearance, yet he was the well-known Marquis Clarence. Marquis Clarence, not yet 40, was reputed to be the second most powerful noble in the north, right after Duke Ophelia. Ambitious as always, he had long sought to leverage Ophelia's status and lineage for his own and his family's greater benefit and power. Indeed, if not for Ophelia's unique position, Clarence might even have tried to secure the Duke herself. By doing so, he could gain not only the most beautiful and powerful woman in the empire, but also secure the Freilio family's rights and power in the north. Now, with the royal family in decline and the empire in turmoil, Clarence saw an opportunity. He explained, "It's almost impossible for us to change our fate by ourselves. Even the emperor himself has unfortunately perished for his country. The empire's weakening or even temporary decline is inevitable. What we need to do is not to stop the disaster, but focus on preserving the lineage and heritage of the empire. Remember, the Duke also has royal blood. Even if the royal family in the capital is exterminated by the Demon King, there is still hope to re-establish the empire as long as we remain. So, we should neither surrender nor resist recklessly. We should seal off the north and have the Duke declare herself the 17th emperor. Hearing this, everyone was astonished. But upon reflection, it seemed like a viable plan. Debates ensued about fighting back, allying, or declaring independence. As everyone calculated their own interests, only Ophelia, sitting on the ducal throne, furrowed her brows. She was unable to decide for the moment. Her intuition told her that this Demon King was extraordinary. Her subordinates often seemed too short-sighted. They might not truly realize the Demon King's strength. Before Ophelia could make a final decision, the ducal hall was suddenly swept by a furious wind, and a terrifying presence and oppressive force, like a storm conjured from thin air, descended abruptly among everyone. Such formidable pressure. Everyone was forced back, their faces filled with horror. Some of the less powerful nobles and guards instantly lost consciousness and fell to the ground, incapacitated. Ophelia rose from her seat, surrounded by a powerful and nimble aura of frost. She sternly said, "Dragon fear? It's the Demon King." The remaining conscious nobles and officials of the north regained their composure. When they looked intently ahead, they saw a figure clad in dark golden scales, radiating a mysterious aura, filled with majesty and dominance, boldly making an unhidden appearance in the center of the hall. It was none other than the Demon King himself, Xiongnu. Xiongnu had come alone. He could sense that there were several level 6 entities present, including at least 4 of monarch-level strength, which was indeed formidable. Certainly, the Bachelor Duchy of the South did not possess such mighty force. Nevertheless, even such forces were of little concern to him. With his current strength and condition, Xiongnu did not regard these figures as a significant threat. The Demon King's gaze fell directly on the Duke of the North. "Greetings, I am the founder of the Chaos Federation, the Lord of Darkness City, the conqueror of the Empire, also known as the Demon King by your accounts." At these words, everyone present was shocked. Who could have imagined the Demon King would be so bold as to appear directly in the heart of the North? How did he manage to break in? The capital city of the North had strict spatial restrictions. Spatial magic was supposedly unusable here, yet the Demon King had clearly used spatial methods to arrive. It was unbelievable, inconceivable. The capabilities of the Demon King likely far exceeded what anyone could imagine. Ophelia, feeling immense pressure, nonetheless maintained her composure as a duchess and did not show fear, but instead challenged, "Do you intend to take us all on by yourself?" "No, that's not my intention. If I wanted to destroy you, I wouldn't need to personally act," the Demon King declared, his arrogance reaching an extreme. He didn't regard the imperial forces of the North as a threat at all. He continued, "The reason I've come here, traveling thousands of miles, is simply to invite you to work for me." Ophelia scoffed, "Invite me? What could I possibly do for you? What task is so significant that it would require my personal involvement?" The Demon King explained, "I want you to go to the imperial capital, declare your accession, and become the 17th emperor of the Thunder Empire." Upon hearing this, everyone in the room was stunned into silence. The Demon King had come all this way with a fearsome presence, just to invite the Duke of the North to the capital to become the emperor? This was indeed a lot to process all at once. Everyone present was no fool. After the death of Emperor Frelio XVI, it was certain that the direct descendants of the imperial family had been purged by the Demon King's forces. For the Demon King, although he had successfully conquered the empire, maintaining control was more challenging than obtaining it. The empire was vast, with a population of 1 billion and countless cities and provinces. With the limited manpower of the Chaos Federation and the Demon King's own limited forces, it was unlikely they could control such a large area effectively. Direct rule by the Demon King would only lead to widespread fear among local authorities and citizens, ultimately causing social order to collapse and significant population loss. Supporting a new emperor was the best solution. The new emperor needed to be someone capable of exerting considerable influence throughout the empire to reassure the citizens and ensure loyalty to the central authority. The Demon King merely needed to control this emperor to govern the entire empire, and currently, the only suitable candidate for this position was the Duchess of the North. This was the main reason why the Demon King had personally appeared here. Ophelia scoffed, "Don't be deluded. I, Ophelia Frelio, the Duke of the North, will never submit or compromise to the enemies of the Empire. Her outright refusal was expected. How could the proud Grand Duke of the North so easily relinquish her dignity and become a puppet controlled by the Chaos Federation? For someone of her noble heritage, honor is often more important than life itself. I hope you understand that you don't really have a choice. After all, I'm not here to ask for opinions. The Demon King said calmly, you can gracefully become an empress, but if you refuse dignity, then I'll help you achieve it. Such arrogance. Even if the Demon King was powerful, it was incredibly insulting to so brazenly challenge the entire northern elite with just his own presence. Don't waste words with him. He's only one man. If we all work together, we can certainly defeat him. Marquis Clarence, impatient to act first, valued Duchess Ophelia as an important asset. If she were taken by the Demon King and set up as a puppet empress, not only would he lose a valuable asset, but the entire North would fall into the hands of the Demon King. What would be left for him then? This was utterly unacceptable. It wasn't just the Marquis who found this unacceptable. All the nobles present, all the beneficiaries of the old imperial order, could not accept such an outcome. So the only opportunity seemed to be to strike, despite knowing the Demon King's inconceivable strength. Blizzard Domain. Marquis Clarence unleashed his domain power. Suddenly, the environment around Xiangnu turned into a raging snowstorm, as if a traveler was caught in a blizzard, rapidly draining away all warmth. Interesting, a mere marquis with the strength of a level 6 monarch. Within the southern, eastern and western regions of the empire, although it was possible to find such supreme powerhouses like the Mage King, Halifax among the common folk, officially there were only 3 level 6 monarchs, which were the dukes. In the north, apart from Duchess Ophelia herself, there were other level 6 monarch units among the feudal nobles, a fact that alone demonstrated the northern region's significantly greater strength compared to the other 3 regions. Of course, a mere level 6 monarch like Clarence was far inferior in strength to battle, or the possibility of him posing a threat to Xiangnu was virtually non-existent. The next second, the blizzard suddenly dissipated. Clarence's domain collapsed, not because it was overridden by a stronger one, but because it was simply shattered. Clarence's face was filled with horror. There was only one possibility for such an occurrence. The opponent had established a sanctuary, overpowering his domain at the fundamental level of strength, indicative of at least a mythic entity. What's going on? Clarence found himself unable to move. Every inch of space around him had become hundreds of times more solid than steel, trapping him firmly in place. Not only Clarence, but all the high-ranking officials and nobles present found themselves locked in this spatial containment, unable to escape, while also experiencing a hundredfold discrepancy in the flow of time. From the Demon King's body, a thick cloud of blood-red mist was released. This mist, enhanced with the corrupted blood and mind chi, instantly swept through the entire hall, injecting itself into everyone's bodies and minds. Affected by the corrupting blood, their equipment's properties were neutralized, their physical strength diminished, and their magical abilities rendered unusable, making it even harder for them to escape their predicament. Simultaneously, within the sanctuary, countless snakes, insects, rats, and scorpions surged out like a fountain or a tide, swarming over Clarence almost instantly under a hundredfold time acceleration. This ability, which Xiangnu had acquired from the fallen druid Jason's pestilence sanctuary, allowed him to summon various dreadful plagues and pestilential species to spread disease or inflict damage. Amidst horrific screams, the Marquis was rapidly gnawed down to a skeleton. His power was meaningless before Xiangnu. Under the dual control of the corrupted blood and spatial confinement, facing the swarm accelerated 100 times, he couldn't react in time. Thus, a powerful level 6 monarch perished so casually. During this process, other people present also met similar fates. The Demon King had dominated all the high-level figures present without ever moving a muscle, not even lifting a finger, simply suppressing them with his domain and other mysterious powers. "Are you sure you want to fight me?" the Demon King asked, and the Duchess fell silent in response. She could clearly sense the immense temporal and spatial forces surrounding them. Everyone else was trapped in a painfully slow temporal field. It was unimaginable that someone could create such a massive time dilation, affecting so many people over such a wide area. In such a scenario, even if the Demon King were to sit down and sip tea, it would seem like only a second or two had passed from the opponent's perspective, a completely asymmetrical battle. Although she did not respond, the Duchess summoned a crystal-clear ice spear. This was the Icebreaker War Spear, an epic weapon passed down through generations in the Northern Duchy, powerful both as a weapon and as a staff, particularly suited to a spellblade like Ophelia. Zhang Nu chuckled, commendable courage. As he spoke, he reached out his hand, and thunder and flame wildly converged in his palm, eventually forming a nearly tangible thunderflame magic sword. Ophelia was once again deeply shaken. The Demon King had not equipped any physical weapon, he had merely summoned special energy with his mana and used a unique martial technique to solidify this energy into a weapon. However, the Thunderflame magic sword in the Demon King's hands was not only infused with energy rivaling that of epic-grade equipment, but it was also bolstered by Mind Chi, Formless Sword Chi, and Corrupted Blood among other enchantments. Effectively, the weapon the Demon King casually conjured surpassed the power and effects of most epic-grade weapons in the world. Before Ophelia could formulate a response strategy, the Demon King casually swung his sword through the air. Yet, the blade cleaved through space, appearing instantly in front of her. What? Ophelia was horrified. The seemingly casual slash by the Demon King had incorporated spatial abilities, meaning that once he locked onto her, no matter her position, direction, or posture, his sword would inevitably strike her. What mastery of space was this? Ophelia gritted her teeth and blocked the blade. The next second, a mountainous force was unleashed from the blade, combining the destructive power of thunder and flame with the pervasive corruption of the vile blood. After enduring for about 3 seconds, Ophelia screamed and was flung backward. When she looked up, the Demon King had already teleported in front of her, casting a towering and massive shadow over her, filling her with unprecedented despair. Never in her lifetime did this proud Grand Duchess, Ophelia, have encountered a being as powerful as the Demon King. Even a mere casual strike from him was more than she could handle, his strength surpassed common understanding and seemed almost divine. Game over. Zhang Nu grasped her as effortlessly as an adult picking up a chick, completely overpowering the Grand Duchess who had no ability to resist. They were not on the same level. To the current Zhang Nu, the notion of monarch held little significance, such beings could not pose any threat to him. The Phipps family was one of the largest commercial dynasties in the Thunder Empire, owning the empire's largest bank, winery, and plantations, while also being involved in transportation and the mercenary business. The family's fixed assets amounted to tens of billions of gold coins. The dynasty had persisted for 500 years. The current head of the family was a 60-year-old named Morgan Phipps, who had once been awarded a baronial honor by the empire for his substantial charitable donations, and he was ambitiously planning to take his family to greater heights. However, fate had other plans. Morgan could never have imagined that the vast empire, which was enjoying a prosperous and stable phase, steadily growing stronger with aspirations to expand its territories, could collapse so suddenly. Morgan had seen Emperor Frelio's ambition to annex nearby kingdoms and even the surrounding lands of the empire itself and had hoped to strategically position his family to profit from these developments. Unexpectedly, the great empire fell apart. This happened so swiftly that Morgan had no time to react. With the Phipps family's extensive business and complex industrial ties, it wasn't something that could be easily dismantled overnight. What now? The empire was ruined, yet not entirely. The territories under the Demon King's control constituted less than 1/5 of the entire empire, meaning that the vast majority of the population and cities were still unoccupied by his forces. One could imagine that these areas, whether populated by civilians or officials and nobility, were falling into unprecedented panic, and a major collapse and mass exodus were inevitable. It wouldn't take long for the news that the emperor had been killed, the imperial capital had fallen, and the imperial army had been utterly defeated to spread throughout the empire like wildfire. Within as little as 10 days or as long as a month, an unprecedented wave of panic and escape would engulf the empire, with at least half of the empire's population trying to flee before the Demon King could gain control over their area. Once this trend of collapse took shape, the disintegration of the empire was inevitable. The region would struggle to unify again for the next 20 years, with order completely disrupted, making business almost impossible. Old Morgan also felt despair. He thought about making a drastic decision to abandon all of the family's fixed assets, accumulated over 500 years, and take only a portion of the assets to seek refuge in another empire, away from the fearsome power of the great Demon King. However, the problem was that the Demon King's minions had already taken control of the imperial capital. Some tried to bribe them for a chance to escape, but these minions were fanatically loyal to the Demon King and almost none of them wavered in the face of lucrative offers, which was truly astonishing. What to do? Old Morgan was already overwhelmed with headaches when suddenly his son, young Phipps, rushed in. "Father," he exclaimed, "something big has happened." Morgan, already weary, felt his face fall further. "Another twist in this situation? I'd like to see how much worse this can possibly get." Young Phipps quickly replied, "Father, this might not be bad news. We've received word that the Northern Guardian Duke, Ophelia, has recently arrived in the imperial capital. She has declared that she will ascend to the throne as the 17th Emperor of the Empire." "What?" Morgan was shocked. With 3 of the Empire's 4 Guardian Dukes dead, and the imperial capital's Emperor, Prime Minister, and Minister of the Military, among other top aristocratic authorities, completely eradicated, if there was anyone left who could stabilize the situation, it would only be this remaining Guardian Duke. No one expected that, under the circumstances of the Demon King's occupation of the imperial capital, Duchess Ophelia would return and announce to the nation her intention to take the throne. By lineage and status, Ophelia indeed was the only one currently qualified and capable of inheriting the imperial throne. But the question was, how could the Demon King allow this? Eagerly, old Morgan asked, what was the Demon King's reaction? His son quickly responded, after Lady Ophelia announced her ascension as the 17th Emperor, she also declared that she would start peace talks with the Chaos Federation, aiming to resolve the conflict without further violence and ensure the safety of the people. Upon hearing this, Morgan finally understood. There seemed to be 2 possibilities. The first possibility was that the Northern Duke, Ophelia, had calculated her moves. She had colluded with the Southern Demon King to eliminate the legitimate lineage of the Freelio royal family to ascend to the throne herself. This was all a maneuver for power in the battle for the imperial crown. The second possibility was that the Demon King had actively invited Ophelia to become the emperor, aiming to stabilize the populace by supporting such a puppet empress to prevent a major collapse and ensure order, thus better controlling the empire. However, both possibilities had issues. Ophelia teaming up with the Demon King could indeed resolve the situation in the imperial capital. But would she not fear the possibility of inviting a wolf into her own house? After all, the Demon King had defeated the dukes of 3 territories. This theory seemed implausible. The second possibility seemed more reasonable. But the Duke of the Northern Territory was famously proud, how could she willingly be a puppet empress? Moreover, Ophelia held significant prestige in the empire, and while her becoming empress could stabilize the situation, she would not be easily controlled. Although unsure of the exact circumstances, any stabilization of the empire was good news. Ophelia's announcement of her ascension as emperor had significantly calmed the public, effectively preventing the total disintegration of the empire. Young Phipps asked, "What should we do now?" Old Morgan said gravely, "The situation is still unclear. Let's wait and see for now." 2 days later, the Northern Grand Duke, Ophelia Freelio, entered the imperial temple and officially underwent the Freelio family's rites of passage and inheritance, becoming the 17th Emperor of the Thunder Empire. At the same time, Empress Ophelia met with the Darkness City's Demon King. Ultimately, both sides signed a ceasefire and peace agreement. The contents of the agreement were made public. The 3 most critical points were as follows. First, the status quo of the occupied territories would remain unchanged. The Demon King promised to withdraw from the imperial capital, to not harm the lives and property of the empire's citizens, and to refrain from causing further conflicts without reason. Second, the empire would join the Chaos Federation as a member state, effectively becoming a part of the federation. Empress Ophelia would become the vice president of the Chaos Federation and pledge allegiance to the Demon King of Darkness City. Third, Darkness City would gain the right to station troops in all imperial fortresses, with the responsibility of maintaining the empire's territory, quelling rebellions, and defending against external enemies. Undoubtedly, this was an unequal treaty that compromised the empire's sovereignty. The Demon King had no intention of relinquishing control over the southern territories of the empire. Not only did the empire cede the southern territories to the Demon King, but it also became subordinate to him, integrating into the Chaos Federation and losing its military sovereignty. However, the empire had no choice. As the defeated party, it had to pay a significant price and offer substantial concessions to ensure its survival. At the very least, the empire could still maintain its daily operations. Young Phipps anxiously said, "Father, we should leave quickly. The new emperor is clearly a puppet." "No, we don't need to leave," Old Morgan said, feeling a sense of relief after learning about the peace agreement. "This Demon King is not a simple-minded one. There might be greater opportunities here than elsewhere. The empire, at least, would not disintegrate, and this was undoubtedly the result of the Demon King's strategy. Old Morgan realized that this Demon King was far from being just a brute with mere strength. This move not only saved a lot of time that would have been spent in further conquest, but also maximized his own benefits. It was a very shrewd move. For the common people, the Empress's ascension and the signing of the agreement stabilized their morale. The Demon King, in effect, controlled the empire, and his power was bound to increase further. Given the Demon King's aggressiveness and ability to conquer, could the surrounding empires and other forces remain untouched? Rather than running away, it might be better to stay here. By aligning with the powerful, one could secure more benefits. Old Morgan thought for a moment and then announced, to celebrate Empress Ophelia's ascension, I had decided to donate half of our family's assets. Upon hearing this, the members of the Phipps family were stunned. What was the head of the family trying to do? Donating half of the assets seemed like an excessively generous gesture. In reality, for businessmen like Morgan, it didn't matter who truly held power. What they needed was simply a stable order and a conducive environment for commerce. During the creation of a new order, many previous leaders who couldn't keep up would fall, inevitably creating numerous vacancies and brewing new opportunities. If seized properly, these could lead to significant advancements. Compared to that, sacrificing half the owned assets amounted to nothing. In the Imperial Palace, the great Demon King stood on a high platform, overlooking the Imperial Palace of the capital, untouched by the war. This massive structure, the most fortified and pivotal center of power in the empire, had been captured without shedding a drop of blood. Han Curson approached from behind, accompanied by Ophelia, who was dressed in the imperial robes. Ophelia had now become Emperor Freelio 17. There was no sign of dissatisfaction or coercion on her face, instead, she exhibited an expression of compliance and submission. This scene, if seen by the aristocracy, would undoubtedly astonish them. After all, the former Duchess of the North, known as the Ice Queen Ophelia, was once a figure of proud and cold demeanor, who would rather break than bend. Even in death, such a figure would not likely yield. Yet, within just a few days of captivity by the great Demon King, she seemed to have fully accepted her role as a puppet empress, as if she had been completely replaced. However, Ophelia had not been swapped. The drastic change in her was simply due to the effect of Han Curson's permanent charm. This permanent charm is one of Han Curson's most powerful abilities, capable of imprinting a permanent psychic mark on any target weaker than her. Under Zhang Nu's directive, Han Curson applied the permanent charm to Ophelia. After being affected by this potent ability, Ophelia became unwaveringly loyal to the Chaos Federation and the Darkness City, her way of thinking completely altered from before. She wouldn't realize anything was amiss. Zhang Nu glanced over the information of his new subordinate. Imperial Emperor, Ophelia, Level 6 Mythic Unit. Ophelia's strength was initially that of a Level 6 monarch. However, since her coronation as the Emperor, she astonishingly became a Level 6 Mythic. This was due to the tradition where each new emperor must receive coronation and blessings in the temple, recognized only with the Freelio royal bloodline. Successful coronation would bestow the strength of the empire's spirit upon the emperor. Being an emperor was more than just a title and status, it was a powerful enhancement that could push a top-level Level 6 monarch further, thus elevating Ophelia to a mythic level of strength. By then, Ophelia was not far behind Han Curson in terms of capability. Although the Succubus Queen had absorbed Will's hero crystal and gained continuous growth, she was far beyond her initial breakthrough to Level 6, her power remained at the mythic class. The likelihood of successfully deploying permanent charm on a target of the same rank and level, especially when the overall power difference was substantial, was not typically high. But considering Ophelia's current situation, her psychic mark remained unaffected. This was expected as once a psychic imprint was successfully applied, it was unlikely to be shed regardless of the target's level of growth, as it fundamentally altered the cognitive processes of a sentient being. Zhang Nu asked, "What's the situation now?" Ophelia replied, "Your Majesty, the Empire has temporarily quelled the chaos, but in the East, West, and North territories, some nobles and other forces are still attempting to rebel and declare independence." Han Curson smiled and said, "The Empire is restructuring and going through a complete overhaul of the system. These traditional nobles, still entrenched in their old ways, are the primary beneficiaries of the previous order. It's inevitable that some short-sighted fools resist the changes." Zhang Nu nodded. The territorial nobles around were unlikely to willingly hand over their lands. He hadn't received a notification of having fully conquered the empire yet, presumably because of these stubborn resistors. The Demon King stated directly, "I will leave the Abyssal Dragon Legion to assist you. You must resolve these rebels within a month." Ophelia responded softly, "Thank you, Your Majesty. With the support of your Dragon Legion, we should need no more than 15 days, not a month. These rebels are hardly a significant threat." Zhang Nu was pleased with her confidence. 15 days to stabilize the empire was indeed swift. Securing the empire quickly would not only bring substantial rewards from the newly conquered regions, but also allow more time for development and fortification against potential threats from other areas. With the fall of the Thunder Empire, Zhang Nu's true power could no longer be concealed. He anticipated that moving forward, almost every hero and demon king would keep a close watch on Darkness City. The most elite heroes might even collaborate to challenge him. In the end, though Zhang Nu was a formidable level 6 legend, facing a coalition of the top 10 heroes without absolute certainty of victory posed a significant risk, he wasn't entirely sure he could handle them. For this reason, in the upcoming period, Zhang Nu planned to prepare on 2 fronts. One was to swiftly integrate resources, enhance his military, and assimilate the vast area and resources of the Thunder Empire. The other was to urgently boost his own abilities, such as unlocking his final talent and advancing to level 7, to ensure thorough preparedness. As he contemplated these plans, Han Kursen reported another update. "By the way, the other task you assigned to me is also nearly complete." After conquering the capital, it was inevitable to plunder the spoils of war. The Thunder Empire, an empire with nearly 1 billion people and thousands of years of history, surely had substantial reserves in its capital. These resources would be vital for the development and construction of Darkness City. Upon entering the city, Zhang Nu had instructed Han Kursen to secure the accessible treasures for mitigating wartime losses and funding reconstruction efforts. Zhang Nu immediately inquired, "How much in spoils have we secured so far?" Han Kursen replied, "We have preliminarily tallied the reserves in the National Treasury and the Royal Treasury. It looks like we have at least the equivalent of 500 billion standard continental currency in reserves. If converted to Demon Jing gold, that's about 50 billion. Hearing this figure, even Zhang Nu gasped. He had anticipated that the treasury of a prospering, flourishing empire with nearly 1 billion people would not be modest. Yet, the actual amount still shocked him. If this haul was converted entirely into gold, it would amount to a staggering 50 billion Demon King gold. If used to recruit abyssal dragons, imagine how many could be added. The wealth of the empire was truly formidable. However, Zhang Nu was aware that this was only the savings from the national and royal treasuries. The empire's assets were not limited to merely currency and gold. If the value of various gems, crystals, materials, equipment, and the wealth amassed from the confiscation of assets from the millennial families in the capital were included, the total spoils of war could very well be equivalent to around 100 billion Demon King gold. Such an enormous figure, even for Zhang Nu, represented an astonishingly astronomical sum. Besides the spoils gained in the capital, the occupation chests from each city fortress were also a significant part of the war loot throughout the conquest. These chests didn't typically contain much gold individually. Apart from the main chests acquired from the major cities of the 4 territories, most ordinary cities yielded between 1 million and several million, with only a few larger cities potentially securing up to 10 million in gold rewards. However, the empire had numerous cities, and these amounts added up to a substantial sum. More valuable than these coins were the various blueprints. These blueprints were the most crucial resources for territory development. Zhang Nu had accumulated a vast collection of blueprints. He believed that with these blueprints, not only could he stabilize the empire's situation, but he could also enhance its long-term strength, turning the imperial citizens into loyal Demon King followers. It was worth noting that the Thunder Empire's population was close to 1 billion. Even though the war and turmoil had led to a loss or displacement of 10 to 20% of the population, the remaining populace was still vast and capable of playing a significant role. After capturing the imperial capital, Zhang Nu acquired 2 level 6 special construction blueprints, the Supreme Imperial Treasury and the Supreme Imperial Barracks. These level 6 buildings were particularly valuable. Zhang Nu first built the Supreme Imperial Barracks. This building had a straightforward function. It recruited all troop types from the Empire, ranging from elite to overlord level, from level 1 to 6. From lowly infantry captains to high-ranking guardian knights, any troop type that had ever appeared in the Empire could be summoned using the Supreme Barracks. Moreover, the recruitment cap was very high, sufficient to rebuild the Empire's lost forces and rapidly restore the Empire's strength in a short period. Additionally, all these newly recruited units were directly under the Demon King's command, further strengthening his control over the Empire. Indeed, a level 6 barracks building was incredibly valuable, even for the Chaos Federation. Following that, the treasury was constructed. The people of Darkness City felt a powerful tremor as an unusually grand, sturdy, and massive structure rose abruptly from the ground. This building was exceptional. Though grand and majestic, it resembled a mountain sculpted into an artistic creation and had no visible entrances, making it seem less like a conventional building. The Supreme Imperial Treasury had a straightforward function. It connected with all the subjects of the Demon King, providing storage and retrieval capabilities. Essentially, it functioned like a portable bank and warehouse. The subjects of the Empire could directly summon the treasury to store wealth or other important items, making it highly practical. Through this treasury, the Demon King could essentially monitor all his subjects' possessions and even manage their assets on a controlled risk basis, such as providing loans or financing construction. However, the capacity of the treasury was not unlimited. With an anticipated population of nearly 1 billion under the Demon King's command, it would be impossible to accommodate everyone's belongings in the treasury, even though it was vast. Zhang Nu planned to first offer treasury access to the Dark Dragon Chamber of Commerce, public storehouses in various cities, and various wealthy merchants and families. This would not only enhance the efficiency of the trading merchants, but also enable control over local elite families using the treasury. Overall, the two blueprints obtained from the imperial capital were quite beneficial. However, considering the current situation in Darkness City, the immediate boost in power provided by these two blueprints was still quite limited. After returning to Darkness City, Zhang Nu immediately expanded the scale of his legion, recruiting a large number of guardian knights for the Empire and supplementing Darkness City with numerous abyssal dragons. Given the current situation in Darkness City, where gold was almost too abundant to spend, Zhang Nu not only increased the strength of the Chaos Federation by recruiting and purchasing horses, but he also accelerated investments in his own power. Currently, with the sole reserves available to Darkness City, Zhang Nu could ascend to level 7 at any moment. However, he wished to collect a godhood, aiming to activate the Chaos Dragon God talent to enter level 7, thereby fully unleashing his strength and potential. Despite high rewards offered for a long time, there had been no leads on obtaining a godhood. Zhang Nu felt it unlikely to acquire information on godhood through conventional intelligence channels or the Demon King network. The only method he could think of involved assembling a complete evil god through fragments. Though it was an evil entity, it was still a deity capable of condensing a godhood. Currently, Zhang Nu possessed 5 fragments of evil gods: the Eye of Death, Eye of Domination, Eye of Regeneration, Eye of Time from the 8-eyed evil god, and the Source of Corruption from the Source of Calamity. Both the 8-eyed evil god and the Source of Calamity were extremely powerful deities. However, it was evident that Zhang Nu had a greater chance of assembling the 8-eyed evil god, given that he already possessed half of its fragments. By finding the remaining 4 eyes, Zhang Nu could obtain the full capabilities of the 8-eyed evil god. He could then use the deity's divine nature to condense a godhood, thereby completing the ultimate evolution to become the Chaos Dragon God. Zhang Nu considered offering high rewards, but realized it might not work and was too inefficient. Instead of passively waiting for information, he decided to actively search for the fragments. With half of the 8-eyed evil god already in his possession, Zhang Nu discovered during the integration and use of the fragments that there was a strong resonance between them, especially among those from the same source. Having 4 eyes of the evil god, he could unleash a potent evil presence. Zhang Nu thought he might use the power of these 4 eyes to induce resonance in the other eyes, thereby pinpointing their locations. By doing so, he would make the search more efficient, saving a great deal of effort. Immediately, Zhang Nu began to experiment. He activated all 4 evil god eyes simultaneously, releasing an invisible psychic energy that was extremely subtle and undetectable to others. Though weak, it could project far, scanning like radar for any target that would resonate with it. Within just 1 day, Zhang Nu sensed a faint resonance feedback from a very distant direction. It worked. The method was viable. It seemed that having half of the fragments of an evil god could indeed facilitate the search for the others in this manner. In the north, there was a vast plain known as the Savage Beast Prairie, one of the largest plains on the continent. Its size was comparable to several empires combined, nurturing a power known as the Savage Beast Empire, an empire-level force. This empire, populated by orcs known for their strong reproductive capabilities, boasted a population upwards of 2 billion. In terms of population size, this empire surpassed most other empires in strength. Despite its formidable strength, the vast population and extensive territory meant that the empire's ability to manage its regions was not strong. The entire empire adopted a chieftaincy system. The Savage Beast Empire consisted of over 180 chieftaincies. Each chieftaincy was led by a great chieftain, who ruled over anywhere from dozens to hundreds of tribes, and each great chieftain was a renowned powerhouse within the empire. In the southwestern region of the Savage Beast Empire, there was an area known as the Behemoth Highlands. This place was home to millions of behemoth giants, one of the most powerful races within the Savage Beast Empire. The strength of every adult behemoth giant was comparable to that of titans or abyssal dragons, making them one of the most formidable beings, second only to the top-tier upper races. Hero Amit recently became the supreme ruler of the Behemoth Highlands by defeating the previous great chieftain, making him the new chieftain of the area. Amit was no ordinary hero. He possessed the strength of a level 6 legendary, ranking him 38th on the hero leaderboard, a position significantly higher than that of the Prophet of Doom, Primo, indicating that Amit's raw power exceeded Primo's. Why was Amit so strong? The reason was simple: Amit had the bloodline of the primal behemoth, which was inherently much stronger than that of an ordinary behemoth. However, Amit scoffed at the leaderboard, aware that the information it captured was limited and that his true strength was undoubtedly underestimated by it. Why was Amit so confident? The reason was straightforward. Amit had integrated 3 fragments of an evil god. As a primordial behemoth, one of the most ancient and mystical behemoths, he naturally possessed a trace of divinity, needing only to reach a certain level of strength to activate his divine bloodline and soul. As a hero, Amit had the capability to directly integrate fragments of evil gods. Amit was acutely aware of the incredible benefits and enhancements he could derive from the evil god fragments, and thus, he had spent a significant amount of time collecting these fragments. Currently, Amit had a total of 4 evil god fragments, 3 of which, the Eye of Element, the Eye of Wraith, and the Eye of Destruction, were from the same origin. Amit successfully integrated these 3 related fragments. When these fragments resonated with each other, both their power and quality significantly increased. This was why Amit consistently believed that the hero leaderboard severely underestimated him. Amit was confident that with the power of the evil god fragments he possessed, he could challenge beings at the level 7 legendary, and thus he should logically rank among the top 10 heroes. However, the leaderboard could not sense the power of an evil god, leading to a significant underestimation of Amit's capabilities. Amit was searching for the whereabouts of other eyes of the evil god, sharing a similar goal with someone else who hoped to collect all the fragments of the 8-eyed evil god. However, unlike a certain demon king, he aimed to become the next 8-eyed evil god himself, while the demon king merely wanted to use the evil god's divine essence as a stepping stone for further advancement. On this particular day, Amit felt the eyes of the evil god within him stir uncontrollably. It seemed that 4 eerie eyes were staring at him through the boundless void. Amit realized that these were not just any eyes, but the very ones he had been desperately seeking. Clearly, these 4 eyes were now in the hands of a single individual, who was using them to locate him. Amit's expression darkened, but he soon smirked. It seems another player is luckier than I am, having collected 4 eyes and now setting their sights on mine. Although he realized that this mysterious entity had locked onto him and would soon appear nearby to attempt to seize the 3 eyes of the evil god he possessed, Amit was not panicked. He had always been supremely confident in his strength, firmly believing that no one could defeat him head-on. Amit knew that even though he had 1 fewer eye of the evil god compared to his adversary, he possessed another fragment of an evil god. Moreover, even without the 4 integrated evil god fragments, Amit's strength would still rank him among the top 30 heroes on the leaderboard, making him one of the most formidable beings in the world. He had every reason and confidence to believe in himself. Even if, for argument's sake, the adversary was ranked higher or was a more powerful entity, what of it? This was the Behemoth Highlands in the Savage Beast Empire, one of the most perilous places. Amit was the great chieftain of the Behemoth Chieftaincy, commanding dozens of behemoth tribes with countless powerful warriors at his side, holding the home field advantage, and ready to vanquish anyone who dared to challenge him. Marvelous! Amit exclaimed. I was wondering where to find these eyes. I never expected some fool would deliver them right to my doorstep. He laughed heartily, and to deliver 4 at once no less. With these 4 eyes, becoming the 8-eyed evil god is without any doubt. Although Amit was filled with confidence and did not believe he could lose to anyone, he acknowledged that anyone capable of collecting 4 eyes of the evil god must be formidable, whether through strength or sheer luck. On such a critical matter, he knew better than to underestimate his opponent and risk a disastrous defeat. "Summon my generals," Amit commanded. "Inform the 5 behemoth kings to bring their core subordinates to meet me." Within half a day, 5 behemoth giants, each radiating the aura of a monarch, arrived with their respective followers. All 5 of these behemoths were level 6 monarchs. "Greetings, great chieftain," they saluted. "May I know why the great chieftain has urgently summoned us?" Although the behemoth great chieftain was not the emperor of the savage beast empire, his status as the top chieftain was nearly on par with that of an emperor. In the eyes of these behemoths, the great chieftain, who possessed the bloodline of the primal behemoth, held an even higher status than the emperor of the savage beast empire. Amit spoke in a stern voice, "I sense that a formidable foe is about to arrive here. I need your strength to confront him and ensure he does not leave alive." The 5 behemoth kings were shocked to hear this. They knew the strength of their great chieftain better than anyone. The previous great chieftain, an emperor-level powerhouse, had lasted less than 10 rounds against him. Such power had already reached the level of a great emperor, perhaps even stronger than the usual emperor-level beings. With the great chieftain's capabilities, he could traverse the world unchallenged. What kind of being could possibly make him so cautious? Despite their shock and confusion, the 5 behemoth kings did not idle. They immediately set up defenses, positioning their elite soldiers around the great chieftain and deploying tens of thousands of elite savage beast empire orc shamans and mages to prepare formations and various traps. Such preparations were formidable. No single adversary, nor even an imperial military force, could hope to shake their defenses and pose a threat to the great chieftain in a short time. Amit was very satisfied with his subordinates' readiness. Although he felt these measures might be superfluous, as the saying goes, better safe than sorry. Now, all he needed was a bit of patience. He just had to wait for the fool to deliver themselves into his hands. In the vast behemoth highlands, known for their sparse population and roaming magical beasts, there also roamed a demon king of moderate strength. Within a mountain range in these highlands, lived Tang Xueme, a snow elf. Snow elves, a branch of the elf family, predominantly inhabited the perpetually frozen territories, thrived in cold environments, and were adept at ice magic. Aside from their snow-white skin and hair, their features closely resembled those of other elves. Tang Xueme had recently ascended to level 5. Although her power was not strong enough to place her on the Demon King leaderboard, she was still considered reasonably successful among her peers. At that moment, Tang Xueme felt anxious, because she had just been contacted by a figure whose name thundered throughout the realm. Nowadays, no Demon King could be unaware of this name, given his immense fame. "It's about time." Tang Xueme prepared to receive her guest, gathering her closest dozens of lieutenants in the square in front of the snowy mountain castle, to wait. About a quarter of an hour later, the space warped into a portal, and a tall, burly figure, whose presence was understated yet still oppressive, slowly emerged. Tang Xueme caught sight of the figure and swallowed hard. It was the legendary strongest Demon King Zhang Nu. Tang Xueme had never dreamed that she, and neither large nor small character, would have the chance to meet such a figure in person. The excitement was overwhelming. The tales of the legendary Zhang Nu were well known among the Demon King community. It was said that he had slain several top-ranking heroes, including one ranked around the top 50, marking the highest-ranked hero known to have fallen to date. Furthermore, Zhang Nu had successfully conquered an empire. He was likely the only demon king among many to have successfully breached the capital of an imperial power. How this man managed such a feat was beyond her comprehension as a demon king. It was simply unthinkable. After the great demon king teleported to the snowy mountain castle using a teleportation stone, the portal generated by the stone began to collapse. After all, each teleportation via the stone was intended for a single individual and would rapidly disintegrate after completion. However, something unexpected happened. Zhang Nu pointed towards the portal created by the teleportation stone, and an immense yet invisible energy immediately surged into it, causing the rapidly closing portal to reopen. One by one, figures emerged from the portal, individuals of various races, each exuding a terrifyingly formidable presence. Tang Xuemei could clearly sense that any one of them could easily crush her like an ant. It was terrifying and overwhelming. Was this the power of the number one Demon King? Was this his foundation of power? He had actually managed to maintain the spatial portal created by the teleportation stone, allowing what was supposed to be a one-time use portal to operate steadily and continue transporting. It was unbelievable and astounding. Zhang Nu's gaze fell on the snow elf demon king in front of him, and he nodded, "Thank you for your help. Here is something small in appreciation, I hope you will accept it." With that, Zhang Nu handed Tang Xuemei a skill stone. As Tang Xuemei received the skill stone, she almost thought she was dreaming. The details of the skill stone are as follows. Skill stone, Ice Age, level 5 S-rank skill stone. A level 5 Ice-type skill stone and an S-rank skill stone at that. Tang Xuemei had never even dreamed that she could obtain a skill stone of such caliber. The Demon King was indeed generous right from the start. "Thank you." She expressed her gratitude excitedly. Zhang Nu appeared indifferent. Although an S-rank skill stone was extremely precious, for him, who had successfully conquered the imperial capital, it was just another addition. His loot included multiple S-rank skills acquired from the Prophet of Doom Primo, and a plethora of high-level skill stones from other top-ranked heroes. To him, it wasn't much. Zhang Nu then introduced his companions. "These are my assistants, the Succubus Queen Han Kursen, the Thunder Empire Empress Ophelia, the Elven Empress Nancilia, the Sea Tribe Empress Shuelan, and my two other followers, Zhang San and Li Si." He had brought 6 subordinates in total. Han Kursen, Ophelia, Nancilia, and Shuelan were all level 6 mythics. Among them, Han Kursen's strength was so formidable that she was nearing legendary class. Even Zhang San and Li Si had evolved and now also possessed level 6 mythic class strength. This meant that each of Zhang Nu's subordinates was of mythic class existence. The foundation of the Chaos Federation and the number one Demon King was terrifyingly robust. Although Tang Xuemei did not know their exact strengths, she could sense their power and terror from their titles alone. The disparity was immense. In front of the number one Demon King, she felt she was hardly qualified even to carry his shoes. Han Kursen asked, "Are you sure the person you're looking for is here?" Zhang Nu sensed the area briefly and nodded, "There's no mistake. A person who has managed to collect 3 eyes of the evil god is unlikely to be ordinary." He then turned to Tang Xuemei, who was familiar with the area, and asked, "Who is the strongest person or player around here?" The eyes of the evil god were often scattered and sealed in various places. Forcing a fusion with an eye without the right conditions would only lead to being overwhelmed by its power, eventually turning into a twisted, chaotic monster. Such a creature, even if it retained its intelligence, would likely cause disturbances and end up being hunted down, making it unlikely for anyone to continuously collect 3 pieces unless they were a player with divine lineage capable of countering the power of the eyes, just like himself. Thus, asking directly for the strongest local made sense. Tang Xuemei quickly replied, "In the Behemoth Highlands, there isn't a hero or demon king who hasn't heard of Amit the Behemoth Chieftain." Han Kursen frowned slightly upon hearing this. "Amit? I've seen him on the hero leaderboard. He seems to be ranked around 38th, similar to that Prophet of Doom Primo." However, Zhang Nu corrected her, "You can't think like that. He has at least 3 eyes from the same evil god. His power should not be underestimated." Tang Xuemei added hastily, "Exactly, Amit's influence covers the entire Behemoth Highlands. Not only all heroes, but even we demon kings shudder under his rule." Amit had become the uncrowned king of the area. Most demon kings on the highlands had been slain by him and his followers, and those like Tang Xuemei who had survived did so by regularly paying tribute. In fact, from the beginning, Amit intended to fatten them like pigs, preparing to slaughter them once they had grown plump. Tang Xuemei spoke with a face filled with fear and dread. "There once was a very powerful demon king who tried to challenge Amit but failed, and he didn't even get to see Amit's face. He is simply too powerful, nearly impossible to defeat. Even the Kaiser of the Behemoth Empire refers to him as a brother. We are oppressed under his rule, living in constant fear every day." Hearing this, Nancilia was unconcerned. She smiled and said, "No matter how formidable someone might be, they can't be a match for His Majesty. Since His Majesty plans to deal with him personally, your days of oppression are about to end, rest assured." The young elf always had immense confidence in the great demon king. Han Kursen asked, "What do you plan to do? This is still his territory, after all." Zhang Nu thought for a moment and said, although I'm pretty sure he is the target we're looking for, I still want to confirm it first to avoid a wasted trip. Do you want to test him first? Han Kersen suggested, let me control a few of his subordinates to probe his actual strength and capabilities. There's no need for that, Zhang Nu said as a silver eye opened on his forehead, emitting a powerful and invisible energy. Everyone present changed color at the sight, especially those who sensed the nature of the energy. Is this the power of time? Empress Ophelia, Empress Shuilan, and the others were all experienced and knowledgeable individuals, yet none of them had ever seen such a powerful force of time. It was unimaginably strong. As the silver eye of time shone brightly, a massive projection appeared before everyone. When the projection became clear, everyone's expressions changed drastically once again, for the images shown were not acquired through spatial reconnaissance. These were temporal projections fetched from the far end of the timeline visions of the future. His Majesty is peeking into the future. Nancilia exclaimed in shock. I never thought such a terrifying ability could exist in this world. Even the future could be scrutinized. Even someone as formidable as the Prophet Primo had to rely on a special mythic sanctum to project future timelines within its bounds. Zhang Nu needed no such measures. With his talent as the Void Overlord, he now transcended time and space, effortlessly manipulating the fundamental laws of time and space to serve his purposes. Zhang Nu was currently simulating the outcome of a direct assault on Behemoth City with his 6 subordinates. The images revealed that the city's defenses were indeed robust. Amit had clearly prepared well in advance. Zhang Nu's use of the Eye of Time had allowed him to locate Amit, who could sense Zhang Nu through the resonance and had prepared accordingly. In addition to a large number of behemoth warriors and elite forces from the Savage Beast Empire set in traps, Amit's main force to counter Zhang Nu consisted of 2 types, the 6 behemoth kings, each with the prowess of top-tier level 6 warriors. Beyond these 6 behemoth kings, there was another significant force that could not be overlooked: the hero cohort. Clearly, Amit was the most powerful supreme hero of the Savage Beast Empire, revered by all other heroes within the empire. Amit, facing a formidable enemy, would naturally mobilize this force. This ambush force indeed played a significant role in the combat scenarios displayed. Of course, the visions from the timeline projection showed that despite Amit's thorough preparations, he ultimately fell to Zhang Nu. Zhang Nu's side did suffer some casualties among his subordinates, but such losses were minor for him, as the fallen could be resurrected at the Demon King's altar of resurrection. Interesting. Zhang Nu closed his Eye of Time, a playful smile tugging at his lips. This guy's preparations were more thorough than I expected. The others exchanged looks. Even with such meticulous preparations, Amit had lost to the formidable number 1 Demon King. And now, without the battle even starting, all their deployments, combat strategies, and hidden abilities had been exposed. In this state, it would be surprising if Amit wasn't thoroughly defeated. Zhang Nu pondered for a moment and then said, let's make some preparations and set off early tomorrow morning. We should be able to give him a surprise. Tang Xuemei was utterly speechless. This Amit, the top hero in the Savage Beast Empire, was practically a sovereign there, second only to the Great Kaiser in both prestige and status. To them, the Demon Kings, he was like an unscalable mountain. Yet now, he was being set up as prey, clear and straightforward. Due to Amit's various displays of power and dominance, Tang Xuemei had always believed that there was no balance between heroes and Demon Kings, that Demon Kings could not possibly overcome heroes. Only now did she realize that the Demon King faction was not at all inferior to the hero faction. With a Demon King like Zhang Nu at their helm, it wasn't impossible for the Demon King faction to surpass the hero faction. The next day, after making all the necessary arrangements, the great Demon King set off with his subordinates. In Behemoth City of the Savage Beast Empire, 10 of the largest heroes groups, with 6 having received Amit's command in time, arrived to make their preparations for the impending confrontation. Each of these 6 heroes groups was led by a famously powerful individual. The weakest among these leaders boasted the strength of a level 5 monarch. The strongest among them was a hero named Kim Tae-ji, ranked 4953 on the hero leaderboard. Although he was one of the lower-ranked heroes on the leaderboard, being listed at all meant he possessed strength not inferior to a level 6 mythic. Kim Tae-ji was astounded by the formidable assembly. Lord Amit, with your strength, what kind of enemy could possibly warrant such caution and vigilance from you? Amit, in his original behemoth form, could tower over 500 meters tall, but he had used a technique to reduce his size to just 20 meters for the occasion. Although this made him less conspicuous, the aura he exuded was undiminished, filled with the oppressive and ferocious presence of a top-tier behemoth. Amit replied with a hint of pride, "This battle is of great significance to me. Being cautious and careful is always wise." Hundreds of high-leveled heroes exchanged glances at the scene. Amit continued, "If you help me win this battle against the invaders, everyone who participates will be richly rewarded. I promise you a swift rise to power within this empire, becoming its true rulers." Hearing this, the heroes at the scene all showed intrigued expressions. Kim Tae-ji tentatively asked, "Are you suggesting that?" Amit did not hide his intentions. "The savage beast emperor's strength is comparable to mine, but if I obtain what I want from this battle, even he will pose no threat to me. You should understand what this implies." Upon hearing this, everyone present became excited and invigorated. Amit was a level 6 legend, ranked around the 30th on the hero leaderboard, and controlled all heroes and demon kings within the empire's territories. With such a person gaining even greater power, leveraging his prestige within the empire, commanding 1,000,000 behemoths, using the demon king's allegiance for support, and utilizing the heroes infiltrated across all societal layers as insiders at that time, Amit could rise up and seize the throne of the empire. If Amit became the new supreme ruler of the empire, wouldn't those following him be elevated to control over this vast force? With this thought, everyone grew even more excited. Although those with keen intuition had guessed that this day might come, who could have imagined that it would arrive so swiftly? Before anyone could further contemplate, suddenly, an immensely powerful surge of energy manifested above Behemoth City. The force was so formidable that even Amit, a superbly powerful being, visibly paled and displayed deep apprehension. "Here they come. Everyone, get ready." The heroes quickly rushed outside the grand hall. As they beheld the scene before them, their expressions changed dramatically. The previously clear sky was now filled with a tumult of energy and lightning. What is this? Such powerful energy. Is it some kind of grand magic? Everyone, be ready to block the attack outside the barrier. Where is the enemy? Find him quickly. The powerhouses of Behemoth City scrambled in confusion. Countless energies converged in the sky into a vortex, ultimately focusing into a single point, transforming into a massive bolt of lightning that descended from the center of the vortex and pierced through the barrier with a deafening boom. A giant, hundreds of meters tall, composed entirely of energy and wielding an energy spear, stood up from the crater. A mere wave of his hand was enough to create a storm. Seeing this, Amit's expression shifted. This is an arcane avatar, not its true form. The actual caster must be hiding nearby, maintaining this incarnation. Find him quickly. Understood. 6 behemoth chieftains, a dozen of the top-tier heroes, and hundreds of first-class warriors along with their followers, rapidly began to search for the location of the invader's real body. Sensed something? They seem to be to the south. There's more than one, move fast and disrupt them. The group moved towards the direction of the sensed presence, where they encountered Han Kurson, Nancilia, and others already in position. The battle erupted immediately and became fiercely intense. Meanwhile, Amit engaged the arcane giant avatar in combat. Both the behemoth giant and the arcane giant were of level 6 mythic strength, and their battle was evenly matched, with neither side gaining the upper hand. Indeed formidable. You're no ordinary foe. Amit burst into hearty laughter, but why do you think you can win on my turf? The arcane giant demonstrated tremendous strength, but being on enemy territory was definitely a disadvantage. Amit had a host of supporters and tens of thousands of reinforcement at his side. While the opponent also had allies, they were already under siege. Stop holding back. We both possess eyes of the evil god. Today, let me see whether yours or mine are superior. As Amit spoke, 3 eyes suddenly appeared on his forehead, side by side. These were the blue eye of element, the purple eye of wraith, and the black eye of destruction, each emitting a terrifying aura. Die. Amit didn't give his opponent a chance to strike. He activated the Eye of Destruction first, channeling the power of all 3 evil god eyes into the black eye, which unleashed a powerful blast of energy that struck the arcane giant. The force of the attack was immensely powerful. The arcane giant's spear shattered instantly, and then its body was pierced through. Moreover, the black energy of destruction spread like a web throughout the giant's entire body. Amit sneered, "My eye of destruction is the most devastating among the 8 eyes of evil god. Be it dead or alive, or even pure energy, nothing can withstand it." He was extremely proud. With the Eye of Destruction, Amit had defeated countless foes. No one had ever survived a full strike from the Eye of Destruction, and he did not believe this opponent could withstand it either. Although it was just an arcane manifestation, once it was destroyed, it would cause a powerful backlash sufficient to injure its caster, exposing vulnerabilities that could be exploited. However, just as the arcane giant's defenses were breached, a presence hidden within suddenly moved to the forefront. It was none other than Zhang Nu. Amit's expression changed. He hadn't expected that his opponent was not hiding at a distance, but concealed within the arcane avatar itself. That explained it. He was trying to draw away Amit's elite guards, to create an opportunity for close-quarters combat. This guy was truly overconfident. Didn't he know that behemoths were the upper echelon race best at close combat? Creating such a short gap was not only unlikely to result in victory, but would likely lead himself into a perilous situation. At that moment, Zhang Nu unleashed the power of the Eye of Regeneration, instantly negating the negative effects of the arcane avatar's destruction and, as he closed in on Amit, activated the Abyssal realm, enveloping the powerful behemoth. By the time Amit realized something was amiss, it was too late. In the next instant, throughout Behemoth City, tens of thousands of elite behemoths and warriors of the Savage Beast Empire were baffled to find that both the invader and the great chieftain Amit had vanished. There were no traces of spatial transfer. It was as if they had been swallowed by a parallel universe that had appeared and disappeared suddenly. When Amit realized what had happened, he found himself plunged into a void resembling a chaotic universe. This void was dim, almost devoid of light, with countless fragmented islands floating through it. A domain? He questioned initially. No, this isn't just a domain. At first, Amit thought he had entered a domain skill, but upon closer perception, he understood that it wasn't a domain but a fully structured divine realm. Divine realms were exceedingly rare, 1,000 times more so than domains. Domain skills were something that anyone entering the monarch level could master, but a divine realm was entirely different. Only a very select few with divine talents could awaken their own divine realm, creating a unique space out of nothing. Once entered, it was nearly impossible to leave. This space had a complete temporal structure that operated under natural conditions, making it particularly suited for banishment, sealing, or forcibly dragging an opponent into an ambush. This was difficult to deal with. Amit's shock was brief before he regained his composure. Although divine realm skills were extremely rare, considering his opponent's unique identity, it wasn't surprising. Since his opponent had absorbed so many evil god fragments, it indicated that, like Amit, he possessed a divine lineage or had even awakened a divine soul, making it indeed likely for him to develop a divine realm. The opponent had also cleverly lured him into the divine realm. This move rendered the deployment of tens of thousands of elites futile, maximizing the reduction of Amit's advantages and increasing the likelihood of victory. Having the ability to deploy a divine realm shows you've got some skill. No wonder you dared to come alone into my territory. Amit remarked with a smirk. Amit's towering body, hundreds of meters tall, was wrapped in a terrifyingly violent energy that wasn't diminished even within the confines of the divine realm. He continued with a sneer, "But if you think just a divine realm is enough to deal with me, you're underestimating me far too much." Since they were both dragged into a divine realm, Zhang Nu was not in a hurry to make a move. He watched the behemoth hero with interest. "It seems you're quite confident in yourself." Amit burst out laughing. "It's merely a divine realm? You really think you're the only one who can use one? Today, you shall witness my divine realm." With a low growl, a powerful spatio-temporal energy burst forth from Amit's body, expanding like an inflating balloon and quickly enveloping Zhang Nu. In the next instant, the surroundings morphed, and both Zhang Nu and Amit found themselves in a vast valley of stone, clearly another divine realm. The behemoth hero Amit also had the ability to create a divine realm. When a unit is pulled into a divine realm, unless the creator of the realm releases them, there are theoretically only 2 ways to escape actively. The first is to kill the creator of the divine realm. If the creator is completely destroyed, the divine realm naturally ceases to exist. The second method is to also activate a divine realm, enter one's own divine space, and then use that space as a medium to return to the main world. Amit employed the second method. Possessing the capability for divine realm creation himself, he responded to Zhang Nu's divine realm activation by deploying his own space, then used it to shift back to Behemoth City. "You think you can escape my trap?" Amit laughed wildly. That's impossible, today you won't be able to leave, just resign yourself to your fate and die. As he spoke, Amit closed his divine realm. He intended to forcibly transport Xiongnu back to Behemoth City. Amit was arrogant, but he was very cautious in his actions. Even though he was extremely confident in his own power, he preferred not to risk a one-on-one confrontation with the invader. Both inside and outside Behemoth City, the number of powerful entities was innumerable. Even if Amit did not act personally, he could utilize these forces, relying on a sheer numbers strategy to overwhelm the invader. Why should he take the risk of fighting personally? Amit was well aware of the unpredictability and potency of the evil god's power. The opponent had more evil god eyes than him, so being cautious was always the right approach in such circumstances. However, just as Amit attempted to transport back to the main world, he was shocked to find that the surrounding space hadn't changed. He was back in the abyssal divine realm, chaotic, dark, akin to the depths of outer space. What's going on? This is impossible. Why am I still here? Amit exclaimed, his eyes widening. I clearly used my divine realm as a medium to return to the main world. Xiongnu responded calmly, the reason is quite simple. The place you are in now is what you perceive as the main world. How could this be possible? The so-called divine realm space is actually a subspace created based on the main world. This space's time, space, laws, and rules are all interconnected with the main world, much like branches growing from a trunk seemingly independent yet unable to detach from the main body. Amit's inability to comprehend what was happening was normal, because, having absorbed a void deed, Xiongnu's divine realm was unlike any other. It wasn't a subspace, it was a complete world. When Amit activated his divine realm in this world, he essentially established a subspace reliant on this world. Naturally, when trying to return to the main world, he would end up back here. This meant that from the moment he was dragged in, Amit had no possibility of escape. Even if he managed to kill Xiongnu, this world would not collapse, and he would still be trapped here forever. Amit, furious as thunder, roared, "Damn you! You dare to play me like this, I'll make you regret ever coming into this world." As they spoke, the Eye of Destruction unleashed another attack. A terrifying beam of energy instantly split the island beneath their feet into two and struck Xiongnu. However, as the destructive force swept over, Xiongnu warped into a void mirror image, dodging Amit's attack in an inconceivable manner. This is the power of time. Amit realized in shock that Xiongnu hadn't evaded the attack in a conventional way but had used the power of time to create a temporal mirror image. This method of dodging could be called perfect evasion because Xiongnu had anticipated and avoided the attack before it was even made, leaving only a mirror image to attract the force. Xiongnu, calm and composed, looked at Amit. The silver eye of evil god in his forehead flickered with light, surrounded by an extremely potent aura of space-time energy, filled with a mysterious and powerful oppressive force. Although you possess 3 eyes of evil god, compared to mine, your eyes are still far inferior, Xiongnu stated matter-of-factly. The more eyes of evil god one had, the greater the amplification from their resonance. The power generated by 3 eyes resonating together could not match the strength of 4. Moreover, not only did he possess 4 eyes, but Xiongnu also held the most exalted and powerful among the 8, the Eye of Time. As long as this eye was present and his power remained undrained, he was nearly an unbeatable deity. Abyssal Scales. Amit wasted no time, activating another of his evil god talents. His thick behemoth fur rapidly shed, and scale after scale began to emerge on his skin. This is... Xiongnu slightly narrowed his eyes. He could sense a powerful aura of the evil god. These scales were not ordinary, they were fragments of a certain evil god, and they possessed exceptionally formidable abilities. Amit was indeed an acceptable adversary. However, regrettably for him, he was no match for Xiongnu. Because all of his hidden information, all his skills and talents, his past and his future, were transparent to Xiongnu. The outcome of this battle was preordained. There was no possibility of a turnaround in this fight. Activating the abyssal scales, Amit underwent a significant transformation. His entire body, from head to toe, was covered in thick scales, including his eyes, which were shielded by a layer of black, transparent scales. These scales shimmered with a metallic sheen, making him resemble a mechanical behemoth. Upon seeing this, Xiongnu fully unleashed the power of the evil god eyes. His 4 evil god eyes arranged into a 4-leaf clover pattern, creating a peculiar and eerie set of compound eyes. Amit declared coldly, the defensive power of my abyssal scales is limitless, stronger than any legendary equipment. Nothing can harm me. The next moment, Zhang Nu initiated Death Gaze. A surge of immensely powerful necrotic energy enveloped Amit instantly. How formidable was the Death Gaze when combined with the power of 4 evil god eyes? It could be said that any mythic being that took this hit squarely would most likely be annihilated instantly. Yet, Amit remained unscathed. His black, crystal-like scales suddenly took on a dark red sheen, exuding a magnificent and eerie aura. Ha ha ha. Amit laughed arrogantly. Useless. Not only does your attack fail to harm me, but it also channels energy into my abyssal scales. Eventually, all your attacks will serve to empower me. During the conversation, Amit also activated his 3 evil god eyes, which formed a clover pattern. The power of the Eye of Element was unleashed, defying the sealed space and transforming into torrents rushing toward Zhang Nu. However, these attacks simply passed through Zhang Nu without effect. This was futile because Zhang Nu, now endowed with the Void Overlord talent, possessed both spatial phasing and temporal mirage abilities. Spatial phasing allowed him to distort and fold the space around him, making all attacks pass through him and miss. Temporal mirage could alter the surrounding time, causing all attacks to occur too early or too late to hit him. The former was a spatial evasion skill, and the latter was a temporal evasion skill. Both were supremely perfect and virtually unsolvable methods of evasion. Since becoming the Void Overlord, Zhang Nu had relied on these 2 powers. Unless an opponent reached a near-divine level, all forms of attack, magical, physical, and anything tangible, were ineffective against him. As the Void Overlord, Zhang Nu could nullify these attacks from both temporal and spatial dimensions, rendering it virtually impossible for them to cause him any harm. Amit's expression soured. You can't kill me, and I'm not entirely sure I can handle you either. How about a truce? Let's pretend today's conflict never happened. With our strengths combined, there's nothing in this world that could stop us. As he spoke, he was bombarded by dozens of Zhang Nu's magical attacks, various dragon flames, sword cheese, lightnings, and high-level spells, all of which Amit's abyssal scales absorbed. The abyssal scales, after absorbing significant energy, began to change their solid properties, transitioning into a state between solid and liquid. It was clear that Amit was using the evil god scales in a manner similar to borrowing arrows with thatched boats, absorbing and accumulating a massive amount of energy within his body, which would be terrifying once unleashed. This piece of the evil god fragment, from a defensive standpoint, could be considered even more powerful than any legendary equipment. Zhang Nu dismissed the offer nonchalantly. A truce is not out of the question, but only if you hand over the 3 eyes. Go to hell. Amit erupted in anger. Do you think just because you have time and space abilities, I really have no way to deal with you? Your space-time abilities can indeed defend against all elements, energy, physical attacks, and all tangible assaults. But the powers that target the soul and the psyche, they aren't entirely affected by space and time. Amit activated the Eye of Wraith among his 3 evil god eyes, representing the power of the evil god's soul, which could directly attack the soul. Spatial temporal techniques could neutralize any attack, but they were not entirely immune to psychic and soul-based attacks, so theoretically, this method was effective. You have received a Soul Destroyer Gaze attack, HP -5000. Zhang Nu felt a slight discomfort. The attack finally had an effect on him, indicating that his opponent indeed had some capability. However, a 5,000-point damage might seem a lot for others, but for Zhang Nu at this stage, it was trivial, akin to a mere scratch. Zhang Nu decided not to waste more time and condensed a massive sword from high-density thunder flames in his hand. It's useless. Your attacks can't harm me. Amit was confident in his defensive scales. Yet, the next second, Zhang Nu's sword blade, which tore through space from thousands of meters away, pierced into the behemoth hero's body. -45,220. A casual sword strike caused massive damage. Amit couldn't believe it. How is this possible? My defense, it was ineffective. The evil god fragment Abyssal Scales, though not originating from the same source as the 8-eyed evil god, was still a powerful evil god fragment and should be enhanced by the presence of other fragments. As a super strong defensive evil god ability, no one had ever breached Amit's defense before. He couldn't believe that it had been broken by a seemingly ordinary sword strike. After a closer sensing, Amit discovered the problem. The sword in Zhang Nu's hand, surging with infernal thunder flames, was imbued with a corruptive evil god aura, distinctly different from the power of the eight-eyed evil god. It seemed that this power was suppressing the defensive effect of the abyssal scales.